But well, there we go. Hi, everyone. It's Saturday.
Is that it? Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March meeting of the Springs Municipal Advisory Council. I welcome our audience and council members and our interpreter and note taker, and Karina, thank you for being here, and Hannah, thank you for being here. We all have our new SMAC gear, thanks to Ray. His parting gift to all of us, so thank you, Ray. Okay, I call this meeting to order at 6:30 on March 2nd. And let's see, if it appears that we've been hacked at any time, we will end the meeting. Spanish interpretation is available. Interpretación en español está disponible con el icono que está en la baja de la pantalla donde dice interpretation. Escoge español. The meeting is being recorded and shown on Supervisor Gorin's YouTube channel and Facebook page. And thank you to our local television station. And Vice Chair Willett, would you please call the roll for the last time?
Gladly. Council Member Alcaraz is not here, right?
Here.
Oh, you are. There you are. Council Member Perot.
Here.
Council Member Lombard.
Here.
Council Member Goldman, definitely here.
Present.
Council Member Reyes is here. You're here. I'm here and
Here.
you're here, Chair.
I'm here. All righty. Okay, we have the approval of the minutes. I think there's a budget correction that needs to be made.
Yes, if I may, Chair Turi, I quoted the wrong number. The correct number for the budget up to date is 5,301 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, may I, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are moving on to public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. Si el público quiere hacer un comentario, estos pueden utilizar la función de levantar la mano. Y estos son por cosas que no están en la agenda. So these are for things that are not on the agenda. You can use the raise hand feature and Karina will promote you. Are there?
Thank you, Chair Turi.
Yeah.
For members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature. You will be acknowledged and allowed to make your comment. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano y se les otorgará el permiso para hacer su comentario. Chair Turi, I want to confirm how much time you want to allocate.
90 seconds.
Okay. I don't see any raised hands.
Okey doke. We will move on. Thank you. Community events announcements. Is Muddy here? Muddy, you want to talk about the mental health forum?
I do see one raised hand also in the audience after Mary Carmen. I'm happy to acknowledge our public.
Well, let's wait. Let's go back to public comment. Muddy, can you hold on for 1 sec?
Perfect. Okay. Andrea, let me get the timer on the screen. Give me 1 second, please. Andrea, please state your name for the public record and make your comment.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Rodriguez. I am with Sonoma Water, and I just wanted to pop in this evening real quickly to let you know about an upcoming groundwater community meeting for the Sonoma Valley Basin. It's coming up on Tuesday, March 29th, and this meeting is specifically going to focus on our rate and fee study. So we hope that you'll be able to share the information and let the public know. It is a Zoom webinar but we're hoping to get as many participants as possible. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting in April, but we wanted to get that out there, and I'll make sure Katrina has the info for everyone to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question regarding what the public comment? Is there a website we can go to about that meeting?
Absolutely. That is SonomaValleyGroundwater.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Victor.
I do see one more raised hand. Victor, please state your name and make your comment.
Yes, my name is Victor Ferrer, and I just want to thank everyone for letting me speak tonight. And basically, what I'm just want to share with you is that Quetzalén is having a showcase concert on April 30 at Hannah Boys Center. This is going to be an event to celebrate Dia de los Niños, Day of the Children. It's going to be a free showcase concert for the community, and the idea is that all the dancers who will perform that day are going to be children and teens. And also at the same day, we're planning to have as many as we can nonprofits, local agencies or groups that they have any programs, classes, or activities for children in the community to show up during the event and do outreach. And just want to share that with you. And if you think there is any way we can get any support to make this event happening, like I said, it's a free community event, and we are trying to make it happen somehow. So far, our budget is really low, but we have good faith that it's going to be enough to make it happen. But we are not 100% sure this is going to be enough at this point.
Thank you, Victor.
Victor, what time on 4:30? What time?
It's going to the concert is going to start 4:30, but the idea is that we have enough agencies and nonprofits doing outreach, they will start before the concert. We're planning around 2 p.m. doing the outreach, and then the showcase concert will happen at 4 p.m. to be exact.
Thank you, Victor. And I do want to make the council aware that this item is actually on today's agenda. You guys do have a request to sponsor this event, and it's item number 10 on your agenda.
Thank you. Okay, no more raised hands.
I don't see more raised hands.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mari Carmen, I'm sorry I cut you off earlier.
I do want to remind you that Mari Carmen is listening to our Spanish channel.
No worries.
So she has
Can you
to
hear me?
switch, and it takes a second for her to reconnect.
Estoy grabando el de español. Permíteme un segundo.
Is it, I can do it.
Permíteme un segundo. Es que,
I didn't realize she was recording, sorry.
yes, I'm recording the Spanish, but so there'll be a break in the Spanish for this part. So, yes, on behalf of, as a member for the RISC Sonoma, which stands for Resources, Information, Support, and Knowledge for Parents, we're working with Hannah, and we're blessed that we're going to have Mike Turi moderating the event, the Community Mental Health Forum, from 10 to 1 at Hannah Boys Center. And it will be done through listening circles that will be in Spanish and in English, completely bilingual. And we are right now at probably about over 50 RSVP, but the information can be found on our RISC Sonoma on Facebook. And it's going to be about, as mentioned, as mental health specifically for youth. And any questions, let us know. And we're also very thankful to Jenny Olson from Napa Mentis, founder of Teens Connect, who is we're consulting with them to start this movement of mental health awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Karina, would you like to talk about Charla?
Yes, if I may, Chair Turi, I will make this announcement in Spanish as well. Querida comunidad, les invitamos a la próxima charla comunitaria el próximo jueves 10 de marzo con su nuevo horario de 6 a 7 de la tarde, ya una hora de información y entretenimiento con Juan Barragán, nuestro conductor. Estaremos hablando sobre diversos proyectos del Valle de Sonoma, entre ellos el SDC, y también vamos a obtener una actualización de la ordenanza de propiedades vacacionales, así es que estén muy pendientes. También recibiremos una información importante del Departamento de Bomberos y el Departamento de Manejo de Emergencias sobre alertas y advertencias en nuestro condado. Así que estén pendientes, 10 de marzo. Yo estaré enviando el volante a nuestros contactos y lo pondré en la página de Facebook de la supervisora Gorin. So real quick, our next charla comunitaria is next Thursday, March 10th, 1 hour, 6 to 7 p.m. We will have information on various Sonoma Valley projects, including SDC, and we will also get an update on the vacation rental ordinance. And we will have Sonoma Valley Fire and DEM present, talking about the upcoming event on alerts and warnings. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So my update, we have
I apologize, Chair Turi. I do have one more.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Zero Waste Sonoma and Mattress Recycling Council partnered up, and they're bringing a mattress recycling event to the Valley April 9th at the Sonoma Community Center. For more information and details, please visit zerowastesonoma.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah, did you have something?
Yeah, on the 20th of March at Larson Park, we are doing a compost giveaway, and this is along with Zero Waste Sonoma, Daily Acts, and some other local groups. And this is really cool because it's compost from what we put in our green bins. So there's going to be a lot of it. I'll advertise on Facebook. I think the new Sonoma Springs Rotarians are going to come help us kind of direct traffic. It's going to be a very BYO event. Bring your own shovel, bring your own bags. I'm going to try and bring a little bit, but it's best if everyone can try and bring their own supplies to take the compost home with them. I'll post more details on Facebook, but probably like early midday. So like 10 to 1 or something like that. And Seth from the garden park, from the Larson Garden Park, is going to be giving out plant starts as well. So kind of a good time to stop by Larson Park and get your spring garden going. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I kind of cut that short and didn't give people a chance. Sorry about that.
Anna, could you give that date again, please?
Yeah, it's going to be March 20th. I believe that's a Sunday.
Oh, March 20th. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, March 20th, midday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Nothing else? All right. Okay. So we want to say a special thank you to Ray and Avram. You both have been amazing partners in this work and have brought you've been great thought partners and just really stellar folks to work with. And I can't thank you both enough for the time and energy you put into it. We have a certificate for you. I think Karina's holding it up. It's doing something weird with your camera though. I don't know what it is. So you'll get those in the mail, and we just really want to thank you, and we'll miss you, and come back.
I think the thanks goes both ways. This has been an incredible experience. I want to thank Susan Gorin for allowing us to be a part of this. It's been incredible working with the people on the board over the last 3 years, and particularly you, Chair Turi. I don't know how you do it with all the other responsibilities you have, but you've been a great leader, and we're all grateful for that and how committed you are, as well as everybody on the board. I will say this, with reflection on the last 3 years, I think we need to be one Sonoma, meaning the Springs has been disconnected from the city of Sonoma. And I really don't think that's good for either part of Sonoma. And I really want to encourage people to really think deeply about that. And I would love to see a one Sonoma. And I'm going to be very committed to that. That's something that I think is really important, because we are connected in so many ways through fire and police and so many other ways, and tax base, etc. We should be one Sonoma. So thank you for the experience. It's been incredible. And I wish you all well. I'm not going away because I'm going to continue to bother and make everybody crazy. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Avram. Ray, do you want to say anything?
I could echo much of what Avram said. Thank you, Susan, for the opportunity to serve. I think it was, thank you for the people who, showed interest in having me serve, that thought I would be a good fit for this. And, thank you to our past members and our past chair and our current chair, and Karina and Lynn Marie, who have been here all along, and our various interpreters. It's been a great experience, really informative way to find out about our community. And I hope that we can get more people in here that show the diversity of our community. And these old white guys can go do what they do and retire, I guess, I don't know.
No, we still can play a part
Oh
in
no,
this.
we come back and comment. We come back and comment.
I think
Public
we all want,
comments open.
yeah, you know
6:30.
what? We all want the same thing,
That's right.
just how we get it done.
That's right.
And we are a community, and we need to all work together. That's the point of it. And so I agree, Karina. I'm sorry I didn't put you out, but you've worked tirelessly and put up with our crap. And thank you.
All right, you two. Thank
Live long
you.
and prosper.
Yeah, we expect to see you back here. Making comments. And
At the beginning, we're going to take our minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's what the
I'll
public
give you
comment
two.
is for. You
All
can't
right.
do that, Reverend.
And that's in the notes too. You better highlight it.
Okay, so our annual report is coming up. The timeline is now to April 20th. Whatever work you've been doing in your ad hoc, if you could submit that to me, that would be great. I'm supposed to have it done by May 4th. And then we will, we need to get it to the board by July 12th. So I'm going to need a little bit of help. I'm definitely going to need whatever work you've been doing, because then I can incorporate it into a larger report. I also want to propose something for your consideration. We can't have a discussion about it, so it's just part of my update. I would like for us, for the MAC, to hold a town hall. I think that we have been getting a lot of information from various government entities, and I think we need to hear from our people in our community. So I'm proposing when the weather gets better, that we do maybe an outdoor town hall. We'll find a space and do something outside. I've held a lot of them in my career, so I think it would be a great opportunity for us to hear what's going on in the springs. And Ray and Avram, I would hope that you would come back and be a participant in something like that. So we'll put it on the agenda coming up for more discussion, but I just wanted to start the percolating on that. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see Supervisor Gorin unless you see her somewhere, Karina.
She is unable to join today.
Okay, very good, thank you. Let's do an ad hoc update. Emergency preparedness. Anything there?
Fire? No.
Well, there's, go ahead, Iris.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know Dana wasn't going to be here. Oh, and I'm not really up to speed. There is going to be in April a preparedness event. It's going to be mock evacuation, if I understand it correctly. Yeah, we can get that out at the 1st of April in the meeting, and there are notices being done about it. Actually, there's a meeting that's supposed to be tomorrow. It's been hard getting people together for that, actually. It's pretty crazy, and Mari Carmen is in on that. If you want to say something, Mari. And although
I
you
think she's got
Spanish
the
thing.
Spanish translation. I do want to
I
add,
just I got back into the English.
okay,
Yes, just a quick yes, to what Miss Iris said. Actually, the evacuation is, they're looking into doing it at the end of April, which would be April 30th.
Okay.
And yes, we met with Sam Willis from the county, who's in charge of the alerts and notifications sent out during emergencies. And one of his, the evacuation is going to be a coincidence. That's going to be managed through a different department. But since evacuation is going to be already happening, or it's a simulation rather, it's not an evacuation, it's a simulation of a disaster. So there will be helicopters, ambulance, all first responders. And so Sam wants to take the opportunity to that same day send out a alert blast to entire Sonoma Valley to test the alert systems and the NOAA weather radios, and also to test the calling the phones. So one thing that he wants to make sure is that if people receive it, and if they're Spanish speakers, to press the number 9 to make sure that he knows that people are listening to that, and how many are Spanish speakers per se. So that's what they kind of want to gauge. And because fire season is now pretty much throughout the whole year, he really wants to do it even before May comes, which is Fire Emergency Preparedness Month. So that's kind of the gist of it. But he will hopefully be coming to the next MAC meeting to give a presentation himself, or at least do one through public announcement to give us more details.
can you
And
tell
we'll
me, okay, we're going to get more information?
Yes,
Okay.
tomorrow we're gonna meet with Chief Aker as well. But that's the gist of it. Is here's that alert system. We're gonna try it. Please let us know if it works. That's what he mainly wants to know, because they're doing that around the county with different areas to make sure that the alert systems are working.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll look forward to more information. The other thing I want to mention about emergency preparedness is that we have our shipping container on the Altamira campus, and we need to check out what's in there, and we need to figure out what more we need to put in there, because it is not satisfactory. I mean, we got some great donations, but it's not to the point where we need it to be. So I'm hoping that we can find a time to do that here in the very near future. Okay. Fire Safe Council.
Yeah, I'll go for that. We're having our first planning meeting tomorrow with Roberta from Fire Safe Sonoma, and they're going to walk myself and Ray and a community member named Lucas over kind of how we're going to set up the Fire Safe or Fire Wise program. So we're really just starting to get off the ground here with our planning. Again, if anyone wants to be on my email list, eventually we will be having a meeting with a community where everyone's invited to come and find out what's going on and how they can be involved and how they can be, safer about fire. So that's in the future. My email, if you ever want to be on my list where I send out updates, very rarely, but I do send out updates about this, is hperot@gmail.com. So that's hpro@gmail.com. And I'll just try and keep you in the loop that way. And if people want to be involved heavily, they can be as involved as they'd like to be. So that's our update. Thank you.
Thank you. Community outreach.
Yes. I'm in between doing some outreach, thinking to do some outreach when the outreach ideas, but I find that I need to talk to Karina about some possible maybe resources that I can use to just do that. I went to San Leo's and I finally was able to talk at the end of Mass, and I was distributing some flyers, and there were people that were interested, but most of the people did. I feel like there is definitely a need for more outreach. I was thinking that maybe I definitely do that during the farmers market on Tuesdays. Hopefully this coming season, COVID allow us to do farmers market, to maybe do some table and distribute flyers and just talk to people. I think that will be a great idea. But I would just need to talk to Karina about resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Arts Council, we have not gotten a lot accomplished, to be perfectly honest. We've tried a couple of different ideas. We're not giving up, but it's just has not need more. And now I'm by myself, and that's a guaranteed recipe for disaster. So I'm gonna need somebody to join me. Okay, Hannah, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say I have an art idea if you want to talk about it later.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Maybe Avram will join us for that. You know,
Okay.
if it doesn't mean having to come to a meeting. all the
If we
time.
can get together with some Manhattans, I'm fine.
All right. Okay.
I'll bet you we'll make some progress.
It'll be really artistic anyway.
Well, I think we'll get more people coming.
Okay. I am going to move on to this SV.
Chair Turi, if I may, you have a raised hand in the public. There's comments on this item.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry, didn't see it.
Okay, Scott. When you see the timer, please state your name and make your comment. Give me 1 second. I have to switch so many screens. Go ahead.
Hi, this is for the moderator. I'm sorry I joined late. I don't have your name, but if you would like some help on the Arts Council, I'm interested in talking.
Oh, okay. Scott, can you email, can you put your email in the chat or is the chat disabled, Karina?
It's disabled. If you can state your email, please, for the record.
My email is like my last name, BRAUN, and then wool like sheep's wool, so WOOL, F as in Frank, @gmail.
Can I read that back to you, Scott?
Yes.
BRAUNWOOLF @gmail.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We need to decide on the SVCAC seat. So we have changed our meeting date. We have, we've tried a couple of different options for filling the seat. We had a member come, they came, they decided they didn't want to participate, they left. It is part of our bylaws and we need to make a decision. We have two options. One is remove the seat from the council and remove it from the bylaws. The other is to keep the seat, and Karina's going to show us the options right now. Karina, something's wrong with the.
Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Are you going to talk through this or do you want me to do it?
You're welcome to. I wanted to put this up here for your reference.
Okay.
So please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's a very nice slideshow. I like your color choice. Okay, keep going. So here are our options. So.
Oh, I don't know if you wanted to go through the entire presentation or just the options.
Yeah, let's just get to the options.
Okay.
Okay, so here they are. We can remove the seat as mentioned, and we would have to revise the bylaws. The other is to change it to a seat at large. So add another member. Oops. We can request regular updates from SVCAC. Someone can come to us and provide us with an update during commentary, I think is what we talked about. And the other one is that we send somebody to the MAC, to their meeting, and they come back with the information.
Chair Torrey, I want to clarify this under option 1. So your first option is to remove the SVCAC requirement.
Right.
And with that, you would also revise the bylaws to
one of
change the
those.
SVCAC to at large and to request regular updates from SVCAC to the MAC. Likewise, the MAC would provide updates to SVCAC.
Oh, it's a whole package. It's not just or.
This is correct. This is all option 1. Yes. Yes. This is all option 1.
Okay. So we take the seat out and then change it. And so then all 3 of those things have to be done.
Correct. Now your second option is to keep the SVCAC requirement and revise the bylaws to 1, clarify whether the SVCAC member needs to live within the SMAC boundaries, which includes, and I know it's on there, Agua Caliente, Verano, Boys Hot Springs, Better's Hot Springs, or they can represent one of the 2 springs representation areas within the SMAC boundary or the SVCAC boundaries. The other revision is to allow the SVCAC to select 1 primary member and 2 secondary members. In the event that the primary cannot attend a meeting, they could send one of the secondaries. And C would be to clarify if the residency of the secondary members needs to be within the SMAC boundaries or the Springs representation areas of the SVCAC or any member of SVCAC. So there's a lot of options. Your first choice is either keep the SVCAC requirement, and then your second choice is to remove the SVCAC requirement, or sorry, vice versa.
Yes. Yeah. This has been a very confusing process, to say the least.
And I do want to, Chair, if I may, maybe I should have gone through it. I do want to remind the council and the community of the, first of all, the MAC boundaries. Again, just to summarize, it's Agua Caliente, Federer's Hot Springs, Boys Hot Springs, and El Verano, not the city of Sonoma, as you can see on the map. Yes. The SVCAC MAC, Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission, is North Valley, so all of Kenwood, Glen Ellen area, the Springs East, City of Sonoma, El Verano West, and the South Valley. Now, the areas in green in here, and you can kind of see it tiny in here, that's where they both overlap. So I zoomed in here, that's where they both overlap. So it really only includes the Springs East and El Verano West. So currently your bylaws state that only members of SVCAC who reside in the MAC boundaries, which are Springs East or El Verano West, could be a member of your MAC. And that's why, depending on your option, you can either keep it as is, where they would need to reside within the boundaries of the MAC, or it could be anyone on the SVCAC membership that lives within the boundaries of the SVCAC.
Well, okay. Hannah, did you have a question?
Yeah, could we just briefly get an overview of what the SVCAC is and why we want them, how we should be interacting with them, what the point of the seat is? Just can we get some context here for me, I guess, and for anyone else who doesn't understand?
Sure. And I'm not the expert with SVCAC, and I don't believe we have anyone representing SVCAC on here. And unfortunately, my colleague who facilitates SVCAC is not on here either. However, SVCAC is a joint commission between the city of Sonoma and the county, and they have land use, ability. So any project that comes before the county, any new development must go before the Planning Commission. Prior to that, they come to SVCAC to see, it's sort of like the first phase and kind of get a feel of what the community wants developed in the valley or not. After it goes to SVCAC, then it goes to design review and eventually to the Planning Commission. Ultimately, the Planning Commission will hear SVCAC's recommendation, and then they can decide on whether they approve or disapprove a project. That's it. Very, very brief summary of what they do. Ultimately, the MAC does not have land use, and therefore it is important for that connection so that you can hear about these projects that are coming to the valley, specifically in the springs. And you, as a community, you can tell the SVCAC, you know what, we like this project, here's our concerns, here's our interest, this is what we recommend, this is how we would like SVCAC to, vote. At the end of the day, SVCAC makes their own decision, but at least you're giving them a recommendation. And likewise, SVCAC should be hearing the community's concerns on these projects.
Iris?
I don't know if that helps at all. It's very brief. Again, I don't facilitate. I'm actually in training. SVCAC, I may be facilitating their April meeting, but as of now, that's what I can provide.
Iris?
What I wanted to say is, for example, the Domino's pizza place went before the SVCAC. There was there's a 3 lot split that was something like 40 acres off Stage Gulch Road near the dump that was before them. Oh dear, there's a third. It's great, I've forgotten. They do a range of things that are happening, and what they review does give them an opportunity to tell planning what they think of a project coming up. So and they do a lot more, but those are ones that I'm familiar with. So if that's any help at all.
Thank you. So Karina, can you are we ready do we need more clarification or questions or public comment? Anything else from the council before we go to public comment?
Well, it seems to me that it's been hard to get someone from SVCAC to come to our meeting. So I think people get meetinged out. I think we need input into that group. From our point of view, if a project is affecting us, or if it's in surrounding areas that could impact us. So I don't know if it's a good idea to try to get somebody from that committee. I think it's going to be very difficult. I think from my point of view, it's probably easier to appoint someone from the Springs Advisory Council to go to their meeting, or 2 people, or however you want to design that, and then either represent us there in expressing our feelings or opinions about what's going on a particular item, and then have the people report back to the advisory council. I think that's probably the most efficacious.
Right.
I did go to the last, did make a public comment at the last meeting, the SVCAC meeting, request, as we talked about, requesting that they send a rotating member to give us an update. And obviously it was public comment, so there was no response from the commission. You might want to fill that or follow that up with an email. I doubt that would be that effective. There was actually a kind of look at general, there's 19 members. It's a large commission. And I don't know any of them that any or all of them were aware that as part of our bylaws that was what was going on. So it might be of benefit to follow up with that request with a letter to their chair and talk about that, and maybe get some input from them on how they might better be able to participate. I like option 2. I like the idea of having the integration between the valley commissions and the overlap, and I think ideally it works, but whether it may not work in a mandatory fashion, so it would have to go to voluntary. And unless we can figure out a way to, if those people could come from the districts that overlap versus have to live in, then obviously that gives you a greater opportunity to. It could be anybody whose district or the commissioner's district or area, I guess. They wouldn't have to reside in it, but it would overlap the springs. That might help. I mean, that wouldn't be a spring specific seat then, or maybe not. So I don't know. I like option 2, but I guess if you have to, go to option 1.
Thank you, Ray.
Maite,
Mhm.
could I have been to some of the SVCAC meetings and observed the process. They hear presentations and then they deliberate, and so the members are allowed to speak in a sense more freely and collaboratively about the process. And of course, the developmental center is one of the big things they're listening to too. So it's a different kind of meeting. They don't meet all the time, and it's generally a long meeting, so that's an obstacle. And it's on Wednesday nights, and Karina, I'm sure which is it the second one of the month, the second Wednesday of the month?
It's the last.
The last?
The
Okay.
4th Wednesday.
That was the problem for Joanne. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we moved it. So any other comments from the council?
I do want to remind Chair Cherry, the council, that in the meantime, any member of the Springs MAC can attend any of the SVCAC meetings. Likewise, any of the SVCAC members can attend Springs MAC meetings and report back unofficially to each other, but it should be established. After today's meeting, you are losing 2 members. You currently have a vacancy, and you have the SVCAC seat vacant, so you'll be down by 4. I'm just throwing the options out there. It is important for this connection to exist because SVCAC does hear projects that will or may impact the valley, specifically the springs. So it is important to hear those, but that doesn't mean that any member of the MAC can go and attend those meetings. I believe Avram was suggesting that a member of the MAC be designated to attend those meetings. It's really up to your council, and if you're all going to have that extra responsibility to attend those meetings that don't always happen monthly, they get, it really just depends on whether there is a project that is ready to be heard by SVCAC before they go to the Planning Commission. So that's another thing to consider.
We have to make a decision tonight. I know we keep kicking this can down the road, but I personally cannot go to another meeting. So I can't, that's not it, because I can't do it. So I'm going to go to Hannah and then Avram.
I can do it. I could probably do it, but I would like there to maybe be 2 of us if possible. So if I can't do it, sometimes work or what have you. But personally, I'm very interested. I think can you get more important than land use? I don't think so. So I would just like to say that I could do it. I'd like to have a backup or a number 2 or just something like that. If anyone could be that. Thank you.
Thank you. Avram?
I'm not here on the going forward, but I think, and I get it, Maite, you're meetinged out. But what I would suggest, and we can do anything in the bylaws we want, is to suggest a rotating. Basically, one member, I mean, you're going to eventually have, I guess, 8 members. And that would probably take care of the year. So, one person would be designated, you make a schedule. If you can't, then you switch with another member. And so you at least have representation there and you have feedback back and nobody is overcommitted.
Thank you, Avram. Hannah, is your hand back up? Okay, Iris?
Sorry, I would tag team with Hannah if, but for this, in the same way, I don't want to be responsible for it all the time. So, we can do that then. Okay.
Let's go to public comment and then we'll have a motion.
Secretary, I just want to acknowledge, it sounds to me like your council is proposing a third option, which would be to remove the seat requirement and designate a MAC member to attend SVCA meetings with the possibility of rotating a membership.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature. We will promote you to be able to make your comment. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano o pueden oprimir estrella 9 en su teléfono si han marcado a la reunión. I see one raised hand. Roy, when you see the timer on your screen, please state your name and make your comment. Bear with me. My birds are happy to hear all these voices in the background.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Only a minute and a half. Okay, I can't possibly fill you in on what I know. It's not Roy, it's Gina Kuklis using his computer. And there's so much background to provide you all. You're really giving up your voice. In the beginning, when the MAC was first formed and I was going to meetings about it, there were 2 of the SVCA members who applied to be the SVCA member on the MAC. So I'm sorry over the years you've lost that. It's really about when you appoint new SVCAC members from the Springs, identify in that appointment process who is also willing to serve on the MAC. Sitting in the audience and then getting to get up and give your 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm sorry, a minute and a half here is ridiculous, to give input to a project is not the same as sitting up there having a full-on representative who's a full-on member of the SVCAC, speaking on behalf of the MAC, giving input to a project. So when the Matson review of some of their projects went to the SVCAC, that's the process. You want to have not just, we're going to stand up and speak for 2 or 3 minutes because they allow more time than you do, but you kind of rethink the role and rethink that connection that is necessary to have a strong voice, because it's not the same just rotating, showing up and sitting in the meeting. And it really starts with the appointment process when you recruit for membership.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't see any further raised hands at this time.
Okay, I think Hannah's hand is up and Avram's hand is up.
So I thought that was really helpful background. Thank you, Gina. How do we get one of us on the SVCAC? I mean, that's a good point. That seems like we are giving up our voice, if that was kind of part of.
They have openings.
They do. Thank you.
Avram, and then Ray, I think's hand was up.
Yeah, I think Gina Kuklis's comments were very, very germane. I hate to say it, Gina. We had not a very good experience. We had a member from the SVCAC join us for one meeting and then resigned, which I don't know what that means. Maybe we had the wrong person. But I think Susan Gorin has a lot to do with that in terms of appointing members. And if she can appoint someone from the Springs to the SVCAC, I think that would be exceptional. I agree with you. My comments before is I don't want someone to come to our meeting and then disappear the following meeting. So I would turn things around and say either Susan Gorin appoints one of the MAC members to the SVCAC, or we go out and recruit somebody that lives in the district to have a voice. And I think it's really important. And I think Gina brings up a exceptional point. So thank you, Gina, for bringing that up.
Ray, and then Karina, was your hand up?
Yeah, if you don't have to decide, I would encourage you to take some time with this and think about what Gina's saying. That's option 2, gives us the connection, and the original bylaws, I think, are give us a route into the land use that we don't otherwise have. So think about it carefully, and if we can avoid giving up that connection, and then that I would try to do that.
Karina?
Right, so I think I should have actually gone through my entire presentation to give a little background on this seat. So just a reminder, the Springs MAC was created back in March of 2019. At that time, the former chair, Ryan Laley, served on SVCAC and was appointed by Supervisor Gorin to be the Springs MAC SVCAC liaison. Unfortunately, he resigned in January of 2021. It took a few months to have a new appointee. Supervisor Gorin did appoint Joanne Brown. As stated, she attended one meeting and unfortunately resigned after the fact. And it's taken all this time to find someone to fill that seat, because it's stated in your Springs MAC bylaws that a member of the MAC must live in the Springs MAC boundaries. And based on that, as stated previously, those members must reside in Agua Caliente, Fitters Hot Springs, Boys Hot Springs, and El Verano. And as we went through the maps, there are only 2 areas that qualify these members. That stated, there are currently 3 members of the SVCAC that are eligible to fill that seat, one of them being Joanne Brown. The other one is Mr. Eric Kokanen, who unfortunately is unable to commit. And the other person is too new to SVCAC and does not feel comfortable representing at this time. And this is where we are.
Avram?
Well, Ray just said there are vacancies on the SVCAC. Obviously, if Hannah or Iris or whomever, Mary Carmen or Jesus, or that we could get go in reverse. Let's get somebody already on the MAC, put them on the SVCAC. And now there may be openings, but maybe not for our area, and that's the problem. But if nobody on the SVCAC is willing to be on the SMAC, then that's crazy. I mean, that's kind of the classic catch-22. So, Chair Aturi, I would suggest that you work with Supervisor Gorin in figuring out a plan to either get somebody from the SVCAC on the SMAC, because we do have vacancies, or go in reverse and get someone from SMAC to be on the SVCAC. That's the only way that's going to work. And if we can't do either of those, then there's only one option, which is option 1. And so for the moment, so that's my input.
If I may, Chair Turi, if indeed there are vacancies on the SVCAC, which I believe there are, but the majority of them are city appointees. So the city has to appoint those, and they must live in the city. And if there are any vacancies on the outskirts of the city, keep in mind that their bylaws state that you have to live in those areas. So if you don't live in the MAC areas, you currently cannot be on SVCAC and the MAC. So there's that, and that's why there is a recommendation for you guys to change your bylaws to expand that if need to, but it's really up to you.
Right, Jesus, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we can have a MAC representative in the SBA, but not just be one person, but a rotating person, but not take the representative from the bylaws. It means to be just be a rotating member. That way we will have leverage, and if one can, maybe the other somebody. And I'm willing to go to their meetings as well, but I like also I'm kind of busy with 3 jobs, so I just want to keep in mind that I don't want to disappoint anybody if I can, but I'm willing to go if Hannah can, or if something like that, something like that. Just an idea.
Thank you, Jesus. Right?
Sorry, my internet keeps telling me it's not doing well. Karina, could you go back to the slide that shows us the overlay of the previous to that?
The bigger one?
The bigger one, the whole, yeah. So we're saying that if we wanted to, we could have somebody from the area that is to the west. What if we just allowed someone that was within that whole area to the west of us? Yeah. Or somebody that was into the right of that area. Is that a district 2? Yeah, over there. So what if we allowed one of those people to participate, and we still, they're still connected to us geographically. They're still in the county. They still understand our issues, and they're serving on the if we just expand the area, then hopefully we could get more people in there. Somebody could do it. Alternately, if you don't want to do that, I mean, you could what about option 2 being the preferred in the bylaws, and then absent that ability to fulfill option 2, you would go to what you've talked about, where the MAC would send a representative on an alternating basis, like you got Anna and Iris have already volunteered to do. And do the bylaws have to be, it has to be this, or could it be, we want it to be this, but absent that, let's do it this way? Some more options for you to think about.
Hannah?
Yeah, I just want to know how can we find out if one of us would qualify, Karina? How can we find out which positions are open on the SVCAC?
I can look at the SVCAC bylaws and map boundary and current vacancies. Like I said, off the top of my head, I believe the vacancies belong to the city. Yeah. And what Ray is suggesting is currently what already exists. Again, per the maps, let me show it again. Per the map, the areas that Ray was suggesting extends here on Verano West and extends here on Springs East. This is the highlighted area where they both overlap.
Intersect. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought that they had to be residing in the MAC.
They do. For the Springs MAC,
right,
they must reside in that turquoise blue section.
Is that written? So in order to do that, we have to have, in order for them to serve on both that roles, they have to live inside of our zone.
Correct.
They can't live outside of that zone.
Based on your current bylaws.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Yep.
So I'd like to say something at this point. So we have been trying to solve this problem. I have been trying to solve this problem with Karina for over a year now. We don't have the resources. We have a smaller committee. Many of us work full-time jobs or more. And we have not, and while I appreciate what Gina is saying, I agree with her, we should not be giving up our say in the land use. This is not a problem the 4 of us remaining folks can solve. We need some collaboration from the SVCAC and some intervention from Susan Gorin. Because if we're going to continue with this seat and having a voice at that table, then somebody needs to pull up a folding chair so we can have one. Because us going around in circles over this is not getting us anywhere. Because I've been doing it a year now, and you may pick up on my frustration around this whole thing. Because this is it's while I appreciate everything that Karina has done to try to move this and get our voices heard, we have not been able to find a solution that's satisfactory to the SVCAC. Iris, and then Avram.
And it's a different kind of, it's a slightly different issue, but I share your frustration. We're going to be down to 1, 3, 4 members now. 4, 5, 1, and we're supposed to have 9 members, 2 of them being non-voting. We really need more members, and it seems like Susan has to get more active on, be proactive on getting more members for us. Also, I think we need to be more attractive to attracting people by being more active. Thank you.
Avram.
You get free hats.
They're great hats. I love it. Thank you.
Avram.
Yeah, I understand your frustration, but let's get down to the basics. None of us on this advisory council have the ability to appoint anybody to the advisory council, and none of us have the ability for the S.A.F.E, whatever.
You know what?
Yeah.
We know what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's Susan. Sorry, I don't know where you are, Susan, but you're the one that can only appoint, and you need to get on it because our representation is even less here in the community, and I hated to see it go on like this where we don't have the members. I mean, our committee has been dwindling down, our advisory council, and that's to say, from my point of view, that people in the community don't think it's important to be a part of the SMAC, and until the SMAC is realized as a valuable element in representing our community, no one else will join. So I encourage Susan to find somebody either on our council that wishes to be on this SVCAC, or find somebody out there in the community that she can appoint to both, because we do need a voice on the SVCAC. So I'm sorry Susan couldn't be at our meeting, but she can certainly get that from Karina and from the notes. It's a neglect. I'm sorry, plain and simple. And it's important.
You're on mute, Avram.
Okay, I sort of cut myself off.
That's probably a good idea. I'll take over where Avram stopped, because I'm just going to pick up on that. I know there's people out there in the community that are interested in joining. So I would put that pressure. Set your boundaries, Maite, and set your boundaries and talk to Susan. Tell her to advertise. I've spoken to people within the last month that are interested. In fact, I think one of them will be speaking later tonight. So again, I encourage you to kick this down the road a little bit, and there's time.
Okay, Mari Carmen, and that's the last comment. I'm going to close this item. Ay, Karina, you too. Okay, Mari, and then Karina.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for everybody's feedback. Though I think that Susan Gorin is the one that does appoint, I think it's also our responsibility to be able to promote the MAC more and be able to find candidates to recommend to Susan. as you know, I was able to find my neighbor who's Jesus, you know, but so we really need to be able to meet Susan halfway, or at least try to go just a bit over, you know, the 50%. And we can't just leave everything to Susan. And we do need to start doing more outreach, have more visibility. But it's all a teamwork. And so I think it's, you know, if we can all get in this together and brainstorm, you know, who could possibly be part of this. And a lot of people sometimes don't know how they qualify. So I think maybe putting it out there of the qualifications to be appointed to the Spring SMAC would, you know, would be great to start creating that outreach and that visibility.
Karina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. Karina?
I was going to basically say what Mari has just stated, so I'll piggyback on that. And on my part, through Supervisor Gorin's office, I know we have worked several times on a press release advertising these vacancies, and we really don't get a response from the community. I will definitely talk to Supervisor Gorin about how we can improve our outreach within our office. Maybe focus the press release solely on a Spring SMAC vacancy versus all D1 District 1 vacancies. I'm happy to do that to support the MAC. At the end of the day, it is also the SMAC's responsibility to help with outreach. That's why also an outreach committee was created to sort of help with those vacancy issues, also to help increase your attendance, you know, participating community members. So yes, Mari, thank you. We all got to work together. It's a team. I'm happy to bring back all this feedback to Supervisor Gorin and continue supporting the MAC in any capacity that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just going to have the final say on this one. So I do believe that it is incumbent upon all of us to get people to this meeting and to get people on this committee. I do believe that. But I also do believe that Susan needs to intervene with this issue that has to do with the with the Sonoma Valley, the SVCAC and the MAC, because we have, as the MAC, have tried several times to make this work. So there comes a point when people have to meet us. They have to meet us halfway. And that's what I need her help with to make this work, because as many of you have mentioned, we don't want to give up our voice in that. And I agree with you. And thank you, Gina, for saying that. But at the same time, we do need a little support to make it happen, because this is not something we can do on our own. Okay, I am going to close that item. Thank you. Okay, the next two are thank you to Hannah and to Iris for writing these letters. We have 2 letters of support that we want to send, and we'd like, Karina, are you going to be able to share those, show those, and then I can read them, and then we can vote on these. They're very well done. I really appreciate you guys did a beautiful job on these. I'm going to start with the SAFE one, I think.
And Maite, you helped too. Thank you.
Well, I thank you, Iris. Okay, so the Springs, so this is going to the Board of Supervisors. And as many of you remember, we had a Manning from the SAFE team in Petaluma presented to us. Yes, I will go slow. Thank you, Juan. Presented to us, I can't remember, I think it was December maybe, about what the SAFE team does in Petaluma. And as a result of that, this letter was written asking for a SAFE team or something along those lines to be in Sonoma Valley. So here's the letter. Dear Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, I want to just say to Juan, if I'm talking too fast, send me a message, but I'll go as slow as I can. I'm a fast talker. The Springs Municipal Advisory Council, the undersigned members of the Springs Advisory Council, approved on March 2nd, 2022, the following recommendation for the implementation of a SAFE team, team community response for Sonoma Valley. The necessity of the program covering the Sonoma Valley, including the city of Sonoma, is to ensure support for all Sonoma Valley residents who may be in need of services the SAFE team provides. And these services include responding in pairs with an EMT and mental health specialist, working to calm the clients and respond in a reassuring manner to their experiences. Utilize existing services and equipment in the sheriff, vehicles and radios, and fire department dispatch systems, medical equipment in Sonoma Valley. Services include welfare checks, assistance to mitigate homeless behavior, assistance to or with medical care, provide safety supplies when needed, condoms, face masks, work to identify gaps in the service provisions and options. Provide referrals and connections to family services, Sonoma overnight support, and other organizations in Sonoma Valley as appropriate. Work closely with Sonoma Valley Hospital and Sonoma Valley Health Center to facilitate ongoing care for people with chronic issues or underserved needs. Team members should resemble the diversity of our community, including BIPOC, females, and LGBTQ non-binary. According to Supervisor Gorin, the Board of Supervisors has been considering the CAHOOTS model for 2 to 3 years. It is time to consider the SAFE team model. The Valley community experiences multiply problems, including but not limited to homelessness, mental health issues, poverty, and lack of or limited affordable health care. Easing the strain on the understaffed Sheriff's Department personnel makes sense. The cost savings maintaining a SAFE team, which is a CAHOOTS type program, would be beneficial to the county in the long run. Speedily implementing a SAFE team community response is compassionate as well as generally beneficial to all in the long term. Any comments on that letter? Iris and then Ray.
Obviously, I helped write the letter. I'm in support of what's in it. We do need more compassionate responses to many of the problems that the sheriff is presented with. And it just makes sense that if it's handled in a more compassionate way, it would certainly be helpful to the people who are being addressed. And I feel it would, in the long run, be beneficial to the Sheriff's Department to ease up the strain on them, and put personnel who really wanted this to be their work rather than the sheriffs who didn't probably sign up for this kind of work when they started. Also, cost savings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
Looks great, and I'm fully in support. And I know from hearing from Chief Aker, they're fully in support. So I look forward to this happening in whatever fashion in the future.
Thank you. I'm going to read the next letter. Oh, Karina.
Just a quick observation. You don't have any CCs that you want to send the letter to, so just acknowledge that. And you're either going to vote on both these letters at the end of the second letter or take a vote on this one now.
I was going to do both at the same time. Unless, well, let's do one at a time. CCs, I think it needs to go to Petaluma People Services, the City of Sonoma. Do we need to add those now? Okay, Petaluma People Services.
Can you show the letter again? Thank you.
I would CC Chief Aker too, the fire department here.
Chief Fire Department, Sonoma Valley Fire Department.
Yeah.
Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, I guess Officer Rodriguez, it's not.
Sonoma
Officer,
County
is it
Behavioral
Sergeant?
Health Services.
Karina, are you getting all this? No?
Give me a second. I'm trying to
She's
open the Word document
looking for the
version.
letter.
I'm writing them down. Also, I think the hospital and the clinic, the hospital and the health center.
Here we go. Okay, I'm ready if you want to read them back to me.
Sure. Petaluma People Services,
Mhm,
City of Sonoma,
mhm.
Sonoma Valley Fire Department, Sonoma County Sheriff, County Behavioral Health, Sonoma Valley Hospital, Sonoma Valley Health Center.
Maite, didn't you mention Petaluma?
I did. Petaluma People Services.
Got that one.
Sorry.
They're the ones who run SAFE teams. Anybody else y'all can think of?
So here
I
they
don't know
are.
if this would be appropriate or not, but student services at the school district.
Anyone else?
Okay, we'll go to public comment.
Members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if you called in. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario en este momento.
Oh,
por favor.
one last one. I know that it referred to the homeless community, and wouldn't that be the Commission of Development with Dave?
Sonoma overnight and
he's in charge of that now.
yeah.
You mean CDC?
The Sonoma
Sonoma
County
County?
Development
Yeah.
Commission.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the Sonoma County Mental Health Board.
Thank you, Muddy. Okay, is there public comment, Karina?
I do see one raised hand at this time.
Okay,
I believe it's Gina again, or no, it's Scott. Give me 1 second, Scott. Go ahead and make your comment, please.
I'm a board member of Homeless Action Sonoma, and so if you would send us a copy of that too, just to the general email at HAS as in Sam, sonoma.org.
hssonoma.org.
It's HAS.
HAS.
So the double S's, they're in the middle.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
I also want to add to that list SOS as well. Okay, I'm going to read the next one.
And with SCO also, Sonoma County Office of Education.
I'm going to read the next one, but we're going to vote on them as two
And
separate.
that's my last recommendation.
Thank you, Muddy. I'm going to read the next one.
I apologize. I have so many screens open, Maite. So I got Homeless Action Sonoma, and what was the last one?
SOS.
Mhm.
SCO.
Okay.
And Karina and Muddy, is that what the only one you mentioned was SCO? Or was there another one? Muddy Carmen, was SCO the only one?
Yes, just that was the last one I mentioned, SCO.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good, Karina? Okay. I'm going to read the next letter. We'll do the same thing and then we'll vote on them as two separate items in case one doesn't pass. Okay. So this letter is, again, thank you to Hannah and Iris. This letter is to Caltrans. It's a little longer, so be patient and I will read slowly. Dear Caltrans, the Springs Municipal Advisory Council is aware of ongoing meetings between Supervisor Gorin, Caltrans, and Sonoma County Transportation and Public Works regarding improvements to traffic safety in the Springs along the Highway 12 corridor. The Caltrans Complete Streets program requires that safety and accessibility of walking, biking, and taking public transit be prioritized on their roads whenever a project is undertaken. Due to the recent improvements on Highway 12 in the city of Sonoma, we have become aware of the possibilities in additional safety improvements that could be made for pedestrians and bicyclists in our community. We, the Springs MAC members, make an urgent request that Caltrans initiates action at the earliest possible time on the following requests for pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular safety in the Springs. Highway 12, Verano Avenue intersection, Verano Avenue and Main Street crosswalk. We grant that Highway 12, Verano Avenue intersection is the only portion of this request under the Springs County and Caltrans joint jurisdiction. Caltrans personnel are aware of the death of 2 people and 2 girls in their early teens injured at that intersection. All of these occurrences were within less than a quarter mile of the locations mentioned. See the chart for references. The deaths of the 2 people, one in the city of Sonoma and the other in Sonoma County, the Springs, highlight our awareness that conditions at Highway 12, Verano Avenue intersection directly impact conditions at these 2 sites. It is our contention that improvements to the Highway 12, Verano Avenue intersections are highly indicated. Our concerns are that inequity of designated turn signals and lanes at the Highway 12 Verano Avenue intersection that create confusion and increased danger. The critical point seems to be for the vehicles turning left from the west on Verano to proceed north on Highway 12. What's in the chart, there was a fatality on 3/22/21 at the bike path and Highway 12. There's a link to the article. There was a pedestrian hit. I don't know the date on that one. Is that the same? Sorry, I think that might be the same.
So the first one on 3/22/21 is the fatality of pedestrian James Pendergast hit by a work van. It's
Thank
continued,
you.
yes.
My chart was split up on the page. My apologies to the Pendergrass family. On 2/14/21, 2 girls were injured by a car at between Palms and McDonald's. And then there was another fatality on November 24th, 2020 at the crosswalk of Verano and Main Street, and that's Ray Carrillo. Springs Highway 12 crosswalks. There is a need for additional marked crosswalks throughout the Highway 12 corridor from El Verano to Agua Caliente. The Springs community is dense with businesses and housing along that stretch of highway. Many people walk to shopping and other businesses throughout the Springs. Vehicles frequently take advantage of gaps in traffic to speed from stop signal to stop signal, making unsafe conditions for pedestrians and bicyclists. There are a few actual cross streets, only T intersections in that area, increasing the need for more marked crosswalks. We request implementation of 4 pedestrian beacons, 3 beacons at already marked crosswalks on Highway 12, located at Boys Food Center, El Molino and Andy's Liquors, and Parsons Hardware and Waterman. The additional pedestrian beacon should be placed at Verano Avenue and Main Street, and this is a TPW area of responsibility. The Donald Street Gap bike lanes. Donald Street Gap along both sides of the highway in the area between Happy Dog and Baker and Cook has no sidewalk. Pedestrians must walk alongside traffic in the bike lane shoulder. The bike lanes are more like bike gutters, and for pedestrians and biking to be more safe, more space and protection than a line of paint needs to be given for both groups. These goals are in line with the Complete Streets program and need to be undertaken sooner than later. The Springs area of unincorporated Sonoma County is recognized as a disadvantaged community. We are not wealthy. That does not mean we are not worthy. We ask that Caltrans work with TPW and Supervisor Gorin and the Board of Supervisors as needed. As she advocates for us to address the above safety needs along Highway 12, we want to minimize accidents and prevent further pedestrian fatalities. This is CC'd to the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, Sonoma County Transportation and Public Works, City of Sonoma City Council, Sonoma County Transportation Authority. I'll take comments. Avram? You're on mute.
One comment, we have to change. It's not Top Dog anymore. It's called Animo, A-N-I-M-O.
That's not Happy Dog. That's a different location.
Oh, they're in the former taqueria.
Mhm.
Is that right? Okay, my
Thank
mistake.
you.
The second thing is a CC. I would put I don't know whose responsibility, if that's well, first of all, to the governor. I would also put our Curry, our assembly person, and I would also put Mike, whatever his name, McGuire, who's our state senator. Is it, or is it Dodd? Dodd. Okay, I don't know where the line is, but yeah, Bill Dodd. I would send it to all of them too.
Karina, did you get those names? Any other comments from the council? Okay, we'll go to public comment. We have Nena and then I think it's Gina.
Miembros de la comunidad que deseen hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano o marcar estrella 9 en su teléfono. Members of the public wishing to make public comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. I'm in the order that I saw them, Nena and then Roy. Nena, when you see the timer, give me 1 second. I have so many screens open. I apologize.
We're gonna need to get you another screen.
I have plenty. It's just there's so much happening. Nena, go ahead.
Ok, ¿sí me escuchan?
Sí.
Ok, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Nena y estoy de acuerdo con lo que acaba de decir Maite, con lo de que se haga que pongan una luz en lo que es la intersección de aquí del Highway 12, en lo que es la licorería y la tienda Íñiguez. También otro de la que ya mencionó ella, que es ahí en el Molino, y también otra creo que es muy importante, la de la Parson y la calle esa, la Wyman, que también son muy concurridas, y pues a tratar de apoyar eso y a trabajar más cerca con la supervisora para que ponga presión un poquito con lo del Caltrans, porque no queremos que pase algo fatal, ¿verdad? No hay que esperar, como luego dicen, ya después de ahogado el niño, tapar el pozo. Entonces hay que evitar esas cosas porque son lugares que son muy transitados. Entonces eso me gustaría que se hiciera, así como la flecha que se puso ahí en la West Thompson y la frutería, que me dio mucho gusto. Hay que seguir trabajando en eso. Gracias.
Gracias, Nena. Nena says that she's in agreement with what we are suggesting, that there should be lights at all the crosswalks that we suggested, that it's important to avoid another tragedy, and that she likes that the left turn lane was placed at the fruit basket, and she knows that things can change, and that she hopes that we work together with the supervisor to make this happen. Did I miss anything? Gracias, Nena.
Roy.
Qué gusto escuchar su voz. Okay, go ahead.
Roy, go ahead. When you
Yeah, hi. This really is Roy this time instead of my wife, Gina. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you not forgetting the Donald Street gap in this letter, because we've been fighting for nearly 30 years to get that addressed, and it still remains a serious gap in safety in this community. And it seems like everyone has forgotten it. And we were really sad that it didn't get addressed in all this Highway 12 work that went on recently, because that was a great opportunity for Caltrans to come in and actually fix that. So thank you for staying in the fight and making sure that that doesn't not get forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, that looks like public comment is closed. We will move over to Mari. Is your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? Yeah, I just I wanted to recommend if there's a way that we can refer to the documents that I sent to Karina regarding that was done in the early 1990s, where these recommendations have been said and by many of our community residents for more than 30 years. And I think it's about time that Caltrans and the supervisor listen to us. I knew Supervisor Gorin wasn't, back when that started, but it cannot continue to be something that the new supervisor, when she finishes her term, continues to just have in the back burner. We need to take more action. And we have so many reports that have been done. And still we're waiting for the spring specific plan that was going to be the new zoning for the springs. But to this day, this document is still what was written by the Community Redevelopment Agency Committee and by the SVCAC from back in the day, as well as another committee, which was called the VIP committee, which was led by the Sonoma Valley Chamber of Commerce. So, we're not going to wait 30 more years. There's reports, there's been studies done. So if it's said that there's still push from the community, this is the evidence that it has been done, and we can't continue to wait any longer.
Thank you. I'm going to make a suggestion that we add a sentence at the end that says, please see attachments of reports from 1990 and 2010, and we include them as attachments.
I can take my hand down now.
Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to steal your thunder, Ray.
As long as it's in there, it's all of our thunder.
All right. Hannah, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I also put up a petition that has over 200 signatures showing broad community support for addressing the intersection at Highway 12 in Verano. And just it's general community support for Caltrans taking care of these ideas. So I'd like to maybe put a sentence in there saying, please see attached petition with X number of signatures.
Can we add at the bottom that sentence that it doesn't have to be exactly that way, but, and then attached the two documents that Mari Carmen has, I don't know how you found those, Mari Carmen, but congratulations on that. And then the petition that Hannah has circulated.
Is this okay? I just started typing as you guys were speaking, so please let me know if this is okay and where you want it. And I have the.
I think you're on the wrong, Karina, I think you're on the wrong document.
I sure am. I apologize. See,
It's
this is
all
what I
right.
mean with all these.
You're managing a lot. We're good. We got to help each other out.
Thank you for keeping me.
Well, you straightened me out on this SVCAC, so we got to help each other out.
Let's see. Let me try that again. There we go.
I would say, I would put, please see attachments of reports and then name the reports. I know it's hard to do this in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And petition. And then take out to take. And and community petition or something, and community petition. And then I would put that at the bottom of the CC.
Karina, that has a typo. It's please see attachments and it says if, but you know, just didn't want it to stay there. Thanks.
Okay. And I will put the report names in here. I just don't want to take up our time. I can definitely do that.
I just wanted to make sure that also went to permit and resource, since they're the ones in charge of spring specific plan, and that it's mentioned there that we've been waiting for more than 5 years for this to be finalized. Also, there's 2 assembly and there's 2 Senate. And if we can also send it to the federal Congressman Mike Thompson as well.
Okay. Did you get all that, Karina? Okay.
No, there's son dos de asamblea, que es McGuire, Aguiar, and then there's so there's Bill Dodd, Bill Dodd and McGuire are Senate, and Assembly is Aguiar and the other gentleman whose office is in Marin County. I forgot his name. Jared Huffman, yes. Yeah, they're the ones who we belong to.
And then Mike Thompson. Okay, let's take a vote because we need to take a break. All right, can we get a motion? I want to do them one at a time. I don't care which one goes first.
I moved that we approve the SAFE letter.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the letter to Caltrans?
I'll make a motion. I'll second Hannah's motion.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay, Hannah and then Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. They approve, they are passed unanimously. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to take an 8-minute. No, what time is it? We're going to take an 8-minute break. And then we'll be back at 8:15. And we are going to go through the rest of our items. Thank you all. You're super awesome. Look how much work we got done. Yay. Okay. See you back in a few minutes. Día del Niño. It's a sponsorship. Mari Carmen is going to provide us with some details. And we can promote and provide outreach and provide a sponsorship.
I believe she's coming back, but Chair Turi, I believe Victor Ferrer is also still connected, hopefully.
Okay.
And he did mention the event earlier during community event announcements. So Victor, if you're there, I'm gonna, Victor, ¿estás ahí? Don't see him. I mean, I see him, but I don't hear him. Maria, are you back? I don't see either one of them. Chair Turi, I don't know if you want to move to the next item.
I do.
Okay.
We'll come back. We have Sabine from the library here.
Sabine, you should be able to unmute.
I did.
Okay, perfect. There you are.
Hi, Sabine. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And may I share my screen?
You should be able to. Go ahead.
not seeing those controls. Let me try.
How about now? Are you able to share screen now?
Yes, I am.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Sabine Salek. I'm the branch manager of the Sonoma Valley Regional Library. I know many of you have been to the library before, but I'm going to start with a couple of pictures to orient you and show you what we're all about. The picture on the left is a photo of the outside of the library. We're at 755 West Napa Street. The photo on the right is two of the rooms at the rear of the library to give you an idea of what it looks like. The Kunde reading room and the teen room. Here are some pictures of staff, including the famous Miss Claire, and a few others that I was able to gather to take pictures. Some of the other things that we offer in the library, including our Spanish language, part of our Spanish language collection, our 3D printer, a recent display, which was called Mystery Date with a Book that we had up for a Valentine's Day, a display of cookbooks that we offered, and a little used, but item that I hope more people can learn about is a magnifier that allows people with low vision to magnify text. So the library, like any other library, has a lot of physical materials to check out, like books, DVDs, music CDs, and video games. We also offer a lot on our website, and we offer a lot of programs, most of which are now still only online because of the pandemic. Today, I wanted to focus a little more on how we try to support the educational needs of both adults and children in Sonoma Valley and in the entire county. At a recent Springs meeting Springs MAC meeting that I attended, I either viewed online or attended, there was a presentation about the Portrait of Sonoma County report. And I wanted to let you know about some of the resources we have and programs that might help to address some of the disparities we see in Sonoma County. One of the key findings was that educational, health, and economic outcomes vary a great deal by race and by census tract. And one example of disparities in our community is that the Springs lags behind areas like the city of Sonoma in the percentage of adults who have a high school diploma. And I want to offer an option that we're trying to promote now, which is called Career Online High School. This is an opportunity for adults to earn a high school diploma online with a scholarship that they earn from the library. Any adult 19 or older can apply. They only have to have completed 8th grade. They have to live in Sonoma County and have a library card, which we're happy to make for them anytime. They have to have the ability to speak and read and write in English, or be comfortable with reading and writing in English, and be able to spend about 8 to 10 hours a week on their online coursework. So I have the web address there that that is where you'll find out more information about the program, and we encourage anyone who has not had a chance to earn a high school diploma to apply. As always, libraries have a role in helping all students succeed in school. And one way that the Sonoma Valley Unified School District has helped their students is by ensuring access to online public library resources for all the students through our Student One Card program. So the Student One Card program is something that all SBUSD students are enrolled in at the start of each school year, and their Student One Card serves as a library card. the number for each student is a combination of the prefix SVUSD plus their student ID. Our district has chosen to only allow students us to offer online access to students, but that still gives them a large number of databases to choose from, in addition to ebooks and downloadable audiobooks. And they can use this student one card number just as they would a library card. So next, these are some of the offerings that we have online. So you can connect to us and visit our website, sonomalibrary.org, to get information about how to sign up for a library card. You can download movies and music from some websites. You can attend virtual events. We have magazine and newspaper databases. If you follow the Recursos en Español link, you'll find access to resources in Spanish. There's also a button at the upper right of the page that says Español, and that will bring you to the Spanish language page, so that you can find out more about the online offerings that are, or any offerings we have that are in Spanish. So one of the cool databases that we have recently added that will help students with their science homework is called the World of Science. And it includes a lot of resources for grades K through 12, STEAM resources, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And one of the interesting ones is in the World of Science is the Gale Interactive Science Database. They actually have 3D models in that database that students can take apart if they want to, take apart the human body, for instance. Or I played with one where you can basically do a virtual dissection of a whale, and with sidebars on the right that give you all of the information you need to support what you're seeing on the screen. Just one cool new addition. Something that we've had for a long time is access to Tutor.com, which is a service that allows you to connect with a tutor from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day. You just sign on with your library card or your student one card. You can choose either Spanish or English as a language, because they have a lot of Spanish tutors at the moment, and you choose your subject and ask any question. It's been used a lot recently by university students. So they do have college level tutors available. And an interesting feature is that you can also upload papers to them. So if you need help, a tutor will read your paper and send it back to you with corrections and ideas for improvement. So that's a useful service, I think, to help people once they get home and don't and still need answers to questions that they have about their homework. And our newest database for our accessing magazines and newspapers is called Press Reader. Now, we already offer access to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and the Santa Rosa Press Democrat online. Libraries have always had a role in making sure that citizens have access to the news and resources that will help to keep them informed. And Press Reader is the newest addition to that. And everything, of course, is free with your library card, but there are you have access through this one to magazines and newspapers from 120 countries and 60 languages. I recently looked up a newspaper. I was an exchange student in Spain for a semester a long time ago, and I had to look up El País, and I actually found that day's newspaper. And so there's a lot available on this database for anyone who wants to read in another language or hear what newspapers in other countries are saying. So if you have any questions, we're always happy to answer them. The last slide just shows our address, the address of our website, and also an email link so that if you ever want to send an email to the Sonoma Valley branch specifically, and the last bit is our phone number. So I encourage everyone to come in, get a library card, and to use our services. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabine. We really appreciate it. The library is a super important part of our community. So thank you so much for the outreach to the Springs. I didn't realize you had so many offerings. That's great. Thank you. Are there any comments from the council? Okay, Iris, is your hand up? It's hard for me to see when the squares got so little.
Sorry, yeah. Actually, one thought I had, I work with citizenship applicants through Sonoma Immigrant Services, and it's not uncommon for people who come here from Mexico to have only gone to school through the 6th grade, which is all that's required of them in Mexico. And you said it has to be 8th grade for someone to use the online high school equivalency. Is there any provision? It seems like an important next step. Getting citizenship is a really important step for well, for their confidence in themselves, for being, being really a citizen here and acknowledged as such. And it kind of opens the door to possibilities. So being able to, I encourage applicants that I work with after they get their citizenship to apply for, to work for a high school diploma. Is that?
Yeah.
Anybody thought? Is the question. Thank you.
And this is only one avenue for them, but I know that La Luz may have a program as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more comments from council? We'll move to public comment. Oh, Jesus.
Yes, I believe the SRJC has.
No, just to be clear, La Luz doesn't have citizenship. It's Sonoma Immigrant Services.
Thank
Just
you.
so there's no confusion from our audience.
Thank you. Jesus?
Yes, I just want to mention that the Santa Rosa Junior College offers a non-credit in class for do not actually know how to write or read in Spanish or English, and then they teach them first a skill in order to take the English courses, and I think they also focus on developing their skills so they are able to take the high school or the exam in Spanish. So I think that will be something that people can consider before taking the high school diploma at the library.
Thank you, Jesus. We'll go to public comment. I believe there's one hand raised.
I do see one hand raised at this time. Roy, give me a second. Let me get my timer on the screen. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Roy again, not Gina. I just want to say that I'm a member of the Snow Valley Library Advisory Board, and I want to thank Sabine for doing a really great rundown of all the resources available at the library, or at least some of them. There's probably even more. But I want you also to know that both Sabine and I and the other library advisory board members really invite your ideas on how we can serve the Springs area better, because we realize that there are some real challenges to even get down to the branch down on the west side of town, between, picking your kids up at school and having more than one job. And there's all kinds of challenges that can be in the way of getting library resources. And there's ways that we could probably serve you better, including ways like having, kiosks where you can go to, like right in the Springs, to pick up a book you requested, or perhaps even just a quote unquote book vending machine that we could buy, that you could get a book from right in the Springs. So, we just want to really invite your input into what we might be able to do to serve the Springs area better. And that's really part of why we're here. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close public comment. We'll come back to the council. I see Ray, Muddy, and Hannah.
Roy, thanks for your comment. I see that I was just calling up the Sonoma Valley Library on their website to look to see if I could find out about the 3D printer, because I thought that I didn't realize they had one. I was wondering if I could find any information about that. But at one point there was it says right here on the front, on the landing page, in 1948, the rural Sonoma County Library opened a branch in Boys Hot Springs. What if you guys did that again? That'd be cool.
Thanks, Ray. Mari Carmen.
Wait, what if it was in the next to the post office? That'd be even cooler.
That is where it was. It was the backside. It was where the church mouse had.
Wow. What if it was there again?
Right next to a plaza. Wouldn't that be awesome? Sorry, Mari Carmen.
I welcome the ideas, and it's not something. It's something that's been brought up before, but I think we gave priority to a very large area of Santa Rosa that wasn't being served. So we do have a new Roseland library. As we continue to grow, the Springs always does come up. So we'll keep it in mind.
I think you'd have a lot of support for it on this council. So I'm gonna Mari, Hannah, Avram.
Yes, I know you all have a Bibliobus. I saw it in Cloverdale. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know the Bibliobus has 2 engagements coming up in Sonoma Valley. That's our
Oh,
outreach
okay. I was
vehicle.
just gonna say I have not seen or heard anything here in Sonoma Valley, so
Yeah,
maybe more promotion for that.
If you would like us even to try to get to the what is it, the Dia del Niño, we could try to arrange for that.
That would be awesome. Which takes me to my other question. You know, our third grade reading levels is really low in our school district, and does the library have any kind of campaign to help increase, or activities to help increase the third grade reading level of our students? And many of the students that get to 8th grade don't even have their 8th grade reading level by the time that they're there. So that really, puts them at a disadvantage when they're in high school. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah, did your hand go down? Thank you. Avram?
Yeah, first of all, I'm amazed at how many programs you have. It's just mind-boggling to begin with. There's also, I think my daughter showed me an app how to get on. It's like an app, and then you put your county library in there and you can reserve books. And I can't think of the name of that app. Sabine, do you know it?
Well, we have several. So are you referring to ebooks?
What are the, it may be ebooks.
Because we have an app that will show you how that you can download that will allow you to reserve physical materials.
Yeah, and that's it. But you can also get ebooks. And what you do is you go on, you put your library, you put in your library number, from your library card, and then you're in there and you can reserve books online, which is really cool. I am amazed at what you offer. And I know Roy was talking about other suggestions, which is amazing to me. I don't know how you could get more public with what you offer. I know you get a little play on KSVY every once in a while and a little bit in the IT, but I don't know outreach to the community to really understand all the things that you offer, because it's quite rich. And I also like the music programs that you used to have when we weren't in this pandemic. And I hope when we're able to do that again and be totally unmasked, that you continue. I think they were mostly on Saturday, and it would get people into the library. And I really enjoyed the variety of music that you brought in.
Thank you. Jesus?
Yes, Sabine, I believe I wanted to also suggest if the Sonoma County libraries could get or provide another app that I think that is really cool. A lot of public libraries around the Bay Area have it. It's called Canopy. I don't know if you're familiarized with that.
Tell me again, please.
Canopy with a K.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great app that is only offered through the like access if you have a library card, but I think that Sonoma County libraries don't have that.
Canopy, you mean the movie database?
Yes.
We do have it.
Oh, okay. I tried to
Yeah, we
log
have
in.
2 movie streaming databases. One is Canopy and the other is Hoopla.
Okay, thank you. I had to get one in San Francisco because Sonoma didn't have it.
They probably have more.
That's good news. Thank you.
Well, you know, the more library cards you have, but what's unique about Canopy is that they allowed you to add all of your library cards to a smart TV or a Fire Stick or something, and you get more borrows every month if you have cards from multiple systems. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We love the library. Thank you for coming, Sabine.
Yep. Thank you. Very near and dear to my heart. So.
If I may, Chair Terry, I just want to say, Sabine, I'm a frequent user of your app Hoopla to check out ebooks for my book club. So personal thank you for having that available.
I'm glad. Thanks for saying that.
Thank you. Thanks, Sabine.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, we're going to go back to Dia del Niño. Can we do that? Mari, can you give us the 411 on that?
And Victor is back, Chair Terry.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So Dia del Niño Children's Day will be on April 30th at Hannah. There's a plan to do a resource fair between from 2 to 5. And then the concert would start at 4. So there would be an overlap so that people that are at the resource fair can stay for the concert, which will be free for the community. And I will be helping Victor set up the resource fair. So we're planning to invite as many agencies as possible that provide services to children that are and to families that have children. And one of them definitely being mental health, emergency preparedness, Children's Parent Institute per se, parenting education. So that is, and Hannah will be the sponsor for the site, and Sonoma Immigrant Services will be the fiscal sponsor to host any donations.
Invite the library.
Yes.
In the library, yes, Sabine. Yes, that's exciting. I love the Bugle Bus. So definitely having that. And there's enough space for at least 20 agencies to be there. We know that that weekend is going to be Cinco de Mayo too, so we know that there's a competition, but definitely, you know, we will be reaching out to agencies to come to this event and really focus on our children, which I think they really need our love and support and attention, and to feel that they are children. And that's what Children's Day is from the United Nations, you know, to make sure that they enjoy one of their human rights, which is the right to be a child.
Victor, did you want to add anything?
No, actually, Mari Carmen, she just said everything about the whole event. And like she said, this event is something really special for us, especially for Quetzalen, who is preparing all these beautiful dances for the people who's going to attend to the showcase concert. And you know, Maite, the most of the students are students from El Verano. And today I'm actually in the middle of doing class, and I was introducing this event to you. And I told them how excited is a lot of people to see them dancing for that day. So yeah, we're really happy to make this happen. And yes, we need support.
So how can we support you?
Hannah, especially Hannah, they are letting us use the facilities, but there is a chance that we may have to bring a liability insurance, or maybe pay for the cleaning fee, and the cleaning fee is about $500. Quetzalen is always in need to raise funds to pay for the dance costumes. That's like something that we always have to deal every time we do a concert, and new dances are learning, and so that's an expense that we have always to try to cover some way. And so far, for the past 40 years, we always find a way to make it happen, and we hope this year we can do it again. But in terms of the facilities, there is a chance that Hannah is going to ask us for a liability insurance and a cleaning fee. Maybe not, but they mentioned that it's a chance that can happen. So that's something that we have to cover. And I think Mari Carmen also mentioned there is, the last time I saw her, there is a chance that we need to also rent some chairs and tables for the agencies that are going to be there too.
Okay. I think we can I make a motion? Am I allowed to do that? Okay, I motion that we offer $500 to the event on behalf of the MAC. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
think it would be a great opportunity for the MAC to do outreach, so I hope that we're there.
We'll have to talk about that, Mari Carmen.
Yeah, but I'll be there, so I can certainly at one point have a little table or host a little outreach materials. But these are the kids, or future of the Springs, correct?
Okay, Victor, you can work with Karina the details on how you bill and how we support.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for everything you do. I'm so glad that Quetzalen is going strong. Makes me very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're rounding the corner, folks. The skate park is not here, but regional parks, Measure M. I think it's Melanie and Bert Whitaker.
Melanie is here.
Great. Let's hear from Melanie. I think you're on mute, Melanie.
Start over. Hi, everybody. I'm Melanie Parker. I'm the Deputy Director at Sonoma County Regional Parks, and I am here on behalf of our organization tonight, and really, really feel privileged to have been here listening to all your conversation and deliberations, and to sort of virtually meet you. So I believe I was asked to talk about Measure M, and so that is what I'm prepared to do, but happy to take any other questions as they come. So if I may, I will share my screen in a minute. I'll just start off by saying, why in the world did we have a parks measure with the same letter as the roads measure? So this is not Measure M for roads in Sonoma County. This is Measure M, Parques para Todos. It's Parks for All. And the reason we deemed it Parks for All is that we essentially went to the voters and they approved it in 2018, a 10-year sales tax. It's an 1/8 of a cent on everything that we here in Sonoma County buy, and it goes to all parks. So it goes to your county parks. 2/3 of the money goes to your county parks, regional parks. That's who I work for. And then the other 1/3 goes to all of our city park organizations, and it gets divided by the population amount. So place like Santa Rosa, much more, and on down the line to Cotati or Cloverdale. But every city is engaged, and we actually, through this tax measure, have forged an incredible collaboration among the park entities. And so you have a much more united team, I would say, providing parks to you wherever you go across the county than we ever did before. If you look at the, so everyone here is in the unincorporated, that's your regional parks bucket of Measure M. So of that 2/3, we bring in about $12 million a year. So 2/3 of that is $8 million a year. And of that money that comes to us at regional parks, it comes in 3 buckets. So we told the voters, all of you, all of me, all of us, we told us that we would deliver essentially 3 things. The first is to do a better job of maintaining the parks that we have. So just maintaining what we have, because we have so much deferred maintenance, as you well know. And so in reinvesting in those parks. The second is to provide better access. And so that means that can be anything from a new park in a place where it's needed that provides access to a new audience, to new programs for existing communities and existing audiences, or new ways to improve access, maybe for folks with disabilities, seniors, all across the board. So that's the second bucket. And then the third bucket is stewardship or natural resources. And so a full third of that is going into protecting our environment and managing the environment to protect our communities, which are things that I'm very passionate about as well. So we are right now in the 3rd year of implementing the sales tax measure. Again, it sunsets in 10 years, so we're just in year 3. And what I want to share with you is something I want your communities to understand that is a resource for you. So let me move you to this screen and share this screen and then make it bigger. Here we go. So each and every year required by the ordinance, that was passed, we have an oversight committee who reviews all of the expenditures. And then we also produce an annual report so that you don't have to show up to a citizen oversight committee meeting to know what we all, the cities and the county, are spending our tax dollars on. And so this annual report is from the 2nd year. It just hit the streets. It takes a little time to close out the fiscal year, get audited, bring the information to the oversight committee, then bring it to the Board of Supervisors, then push out the annual report to the public. So this just went out this week, but it's posted on our website. And so you can access it there. And literally what it does is it details both in financial terms, in narration terms, and with pictures and graphs, where the voters' money was spent this year, what those fund balances are, and then really sort of tells the story of some of the most impactful things that were done. And so for us in regional parks this last year, we focused on some new parks that we added to the system, like Calabasas, that you might be familiar with at the upper end of the valley, vegetation management and burned area rehabilitation. And then we did a lot of innovation during the pandemic when we all had our kids home and out of school to provide virtual programming and all kinds of innovative programming to young people and families during the pandemic, and also to get people outdoors in a safe way. And then some specific projects that we highlighted here. And so I won't go through all of the annual report. I just want you to know that it's a resource for you if you want to be tracking how this tax measure is being implemented. And then also point out that each of the cities, so you might be interested in your neighboring Sonoma city, you know, what are they doing with their Measure M dollars as well. So the cities are in here. And that's about it. So I will stop sharing my screen and come back with you all. Stop share. There we go. And I'm just anticipating, being who you are, you might be interested in questions related to some of our facilities in your neighborhood. So, you know, for instance, the sheep grazing that you saw at Maxwell this year, that was Measure M funded. Sheep grazing is a tool that we love a lot in our small and medium-sized parks, but it's pretty expensive. It's not like cattle grazing where somebody will pay you for the grass. You actually have to hire a shepherd and his or her or their flock. And so we were able to bring that tool to Maxwell, and you'll see that roll out in more and more of our parks. In terms of the actual development of both Larson and Maxwell, we put Measure M. The way we use Measure M for our big, really expensive projects like those two is that we put leverage money out there, and then we use that to leverage grants, and we've done that successfully in a number of places. In the case of Maxwell, we put $1 million of Measure M into what is now has been bid out as a $7 million redevelopment project for Maxwell. We've leveraged we're now close to $3 million total, but that's a far cry from the 7 that we need. So Supervisor Gorin has been helping us strategize with ways to find some one-time monies, either from the state or other opportunities to fill the gap for Maxwell. So that is something that we are ongoing, working on like crazy. And then, of course, doing our outreach. Our planners are working, from my understanding at least, with the various interests of pickleball and the pump track, and also working with our Parks Foundation to raise money for the specific elements, because that's a different way to raise money, is just to find those folks that love that thing, and then bring in donor money that we can also then leverage. And then for Larson, we were really disappointed. We've been disappointed actually quite a bit in terms of, we have a pretty good track record in getting state grants for park redevelopment projects, but we just missed out on a $3 million grant for Larson. We had put in $400,000 of Measure M to show that we had a match. But unfortunately, right now, a lot of the state grant programs, the way the spring sort of rates out is essentially, you know, not needy enough against the backdrop of the state of California. And so we're working on trying to fix that at a policy level. Frankly, I'm working on that, some language about what counts in terms of, you know, communities of need. But also we're trying to work on other grant opportunities for Larson. So sort of really hand-wringing right now, honestly, to find the dollars that we need to get those two projects across the finish line. They both have been bid. We know what they're going to cost. We have documents ready to hire contractors to move in and start the work. We just need to fill the funding gap. So at this point, that's the main part of what I have to share, and are happy to take any questions. I will admit I'm not the most knowledgeable person in our shop for those parks, but anything that I can't personally answer, I am happy to find the answers and get back to you all.
Thank you. Are there comments from Council? Hannah?
Hi, thank you for being here. I had a question about when we need a, I was gonna say a permission slip, but I've done events at Larson and I get a use application. At what point do I need one? I always just fill one out because it seems like you guys are pretty easy to work with, but sometimes I'm like, do I need to be doing this? So could you tell me what?
Yeah, I mean, special use permits are usually either for something that's commercial in nature, so there's money being taken, or it's just an event that will impact you know, it's a kind of a subjective line. It's an event that will impact the public's ability to use the park or the public's, you know, experience of the park. So if you're having a cross-country race in a park and there's 300 kids running and it's a small park, then it's like, well, we want to manage that to make sure that the public's experience of the park that day is balanced. So, but what you can do is just place a call to Daniel Arsenal, who is our special use permit, and he will tell you, like, yes, you do need it, or actually, Hannah, you don't need this. And you can point blank just ask him that. And he's pretty savvy. He's been doing this for a while.
Thank you.
He's great. Yes, thanks.
Muddy?
Hi, thank you, Melanie, for coming today. I personally need to use the parks more, but there's so many great opportunities. So thank you for all you're doing with your team. I have one question regarding to events. Let's say that the MAC wanted to host an event at a park. How, and it's non-commercial, are there what kinds of permits are needed per se, and is music allowed? Because I remember at one point thought that Maxwell, you couldn't necessarily have music there with an event, or
Yeah, so Maxwell Farms, we have a conservation easement that precludes amplified music. That's probably what you're thinking of. In terms of the broader question, again, it's on that subjective line. So are you meeting in the park, or are you hosting a festival? You know, if you're hosting a festival, I would talk to Danny about a special use permit, because again, we have to balance that use. We wouldn't say, we like, I can't remember if we've ever said no to a special use permit. It's not a yes or no. It's really like, help us understand what you're doing so we can help manage the park that day or for that event. So, you know, if it's a larger event, I would definitely talk to Danny about a special use permit. It's actually kind of a favor to us and to the public, just to let us, you know, understand what your needs are and make sure that we can provide them.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Melanie,
can you put his information or provide it to Karina? Thank you.
So Melanie, I have a question. So how are other communities funding their projects, and who do we have to put pressure on to make, right? If you've got this pot of money, and what happens to it? Is it going to disappear? I mean, we've had a lot of situations where we had this pot of money, we thought this thing was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. Yeah. And that sounds like we're going down the same road again.
That's a great question. And I do appreciate the question. I mean, in terms of the Measure M dollars, as we're pushing those out around the 60 parks, those aren't going to disappear. And we really are we are successfully, I think, leveraging them. In terms of the funding gaps at Larson and Maxwell, I mean, I think Susan Gorin is doing everything that she can think of, but just reiterating to her the importance of those parks to, and really all the Board of Supervisors, the importance of those parks to your constituents, and the need to fill those gaps. You know, if we can't land the traditional state grant route, and we can't, I know the foundation was right before the pandemic gonna launch a capital campaign, and because of the pandemic, they put it on hold and try to really raise money throughout the Sonoma Valley from individual donors. But if we can't go those conventional routes, there are, I mean, honestly, there are one-time funds. I mean, the state's in a surplus right now, right? So why can't somebody lobby for this incredible, I didn't hear me say this, but I know, you know what I'm saying. It's just, I do think that there are one-time funds. So I think if you guys are passionate about it and you really want to, you know, advocate for the supervisors finding an answer, I think that would be a strategy worth, you know, talking about.
I see another letter in our future. So I would like, and I also think the other thing is, I don't know how much community outreach has been done for the families in our community to be able to have them weigh in on what they'd like to see, and that, you know, that we'd like to get it done before all the kids grow up. So I see perhaps a letter in our future. I'm going to, Hannah.
Yeah, I just was wondering if Melanie, you know, you mentioned that there's those 3 goals for the Measure M money. One of them being the environment, and Larson is unique in that our river, you know, a river runs through it, literally. And, you know, we do lots of cool things there, like, you know, cleanup events, but, you know,
Yeah.
Measure M, I mean, a river runs through Maxwell as well. It's the same river, but I don't know. I guess I would just say how much Measure M money would be needed at Larson. It's been used so much, especially during the pandemic. You realize how much these public areas are important to us as a community. How important it is to have some place that's free to go to, that you don't need to spend money, that you can be healthy, be outdoors. So yeah, I second what Maite says, is that we need to find a way to get Larson going, because it's another little heart of our community.
Yep.
So
Yep.
thank you.
I'm wondering if maybe we hold a joint meeting there, try to get some people out to hear their voices. That's always a, you know, public display of support for the park and getting some, it needs help. It needs a lot of love, and it's a great resource. So, Hannah.
Just a point of information. I believe they're going to be having a farmer's market at Larson again.
Are they?
Right? Am I crazy? No?
I don't know.
I could have sworn they were going to do the farmer's market there again.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I think they did. And if so, that's going to be an amazing amount of outreach. So let me
I haven't heard anything, no.
I thought I saw that in the newspaper. Let me fact check that, but that'd be okay. Maybe I'm making things up.
All right, I'm going to go to public comment.
Any members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano o oprimir *9 en su teléfono. I don't see any raised hands, Chair Turi.
Okay. Any final comments? Well, Melanie, you can, Aram.
Yeah. Are you getting the necessary backing from our supervisor, Melanie, in terms of trying to find resources or identify resources either within the county or outside the county?
Yeah, Supervisor Gorin is super passionate about these two projects and is always, you know, we push on her, she pushes on us. We're all pushing together. We really are trying to find these one-time funds. We have a couple of leads right now that I don't want to go too far down, but if we could, you know, be successful in even just one of them, it would make a big difference. And she is very supportive.
I'm surprised by the state saying that we're not needy enough. That just boggles my imagination.
I know it has to do with the new criteria that they've set that are applied to most of these state grants now. So it's like right beyond the threshold in most cases for every place in Sonoma County, including the Springs.
Okay.
Okay, Melanie, thank you so much. We would be willing to collaborate with you to try to get some more outreach happening in the community here. All right.
That sounds great. We'd love to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our permit Sonoma, and we are almost done. I think it's Gary that's here.
And he should be connecting.
And this is an update on the vacation rental. Hi, Gary. Thank you for hanging out with us.
It's always a pleasure. I really enjoy it. I wish I could go down to the Springs in person though. So I hate not getting out of the house that much. Let me introduce, I'm Gary Helfrich. I'm the project planner for the vacation rental program update. And the main thing I'm here to do tonight is give a quick overview of what our recommendations are going to be and remind everybody that the new program is going to the Planning Commission on March 17th. So the first actual public hearings are coming up soon. Since the board gave us direction to reach out to neighborhood groups, industry groups, countywide, about 6 months ago, we've had over 20 outreach meetings, and our program has evolved quite a bit. So I thought it was good. I met with the MAC, when was that, like 3 or 4 months ago, and just wanted to give everyone an update on what's changed with our recommendation, and make sure that everybody who's interested participates in the hearing, and more importantly, provides comments. And let's see, if I can, in the chat, I'll leave my contact information. So just send comments directly to me. So the big thing that we're going to do is switch to a business licensing program. This is in addition to needing a zoning permit. So it's going to work a lot like the way businesses work in cities, that you get your permit to operate, but then to actually conduct business, you need a business license on top of that. And this has a big advantage that isn't immediately clear, which is we have a lot of flexibility on enforcement with a business license, where we don't have that same flexibility with a zoning permit. We can assess civil penalties, we can do suspensions, we can do revocations, and we can do non-renewals. And that last thing is very important, because zoning permits run with the land and they're pretty much there as long as you own the property. But a license expires every year. I mean, it's a misnomer that you renew your business license. Business licenses are usually annual permits that expire, and you're reapplying when you renew it. So if you're not doing a good job of operating your vacation rental, then we can refuse to renew your permit. The other thing about a license is it will require neighborhood notification every time the license is renewed. So people are aware of who's operating the vacation rentals in their community. And to, kind of support this tool, we're in final negotiations to get our 24/7 hotline live. So there'll just be an 800 number you can call. You don't have to go through the county website, and it's really clunky looking up who's got a vacation rental if you think that one's being, if it's creating a nuisance, if there's a loud party at 1 a.m, people are really frustrated with that. We've heard that countywide, and we just need to do better. So this 24/7 hotline that's paid for with the mitigation monitoring fee that we assess to every vacation rental. So it's a self-supporting system. This will give a live human being that you can talk to 24/7 if there's a problem. We're going to continue this was something that we went one way than the other, but our final recommendation is going to be to maintain the vacation rental exclusion zone, and in the valley add Theodore Lane and Falcon to the existing exclusion zone. Thing that we're also keeping the overall land use restrictions the same. So in a lot of areas of the Springs, it's zoned medium or high density residential. There's just always been a prohibition countywide, and we're not going to change that. So those areas you can't, in multifamily zones, you can't operate a vacation rental. You also can't do it in land intensive agriculture. So none of that we're proposing to change. The other thing is we're going to create a permanent cap on vacation rentals in certain areas. Our proposal is to do it in the burn zones and the lower Russian River area that has a temporary cap currently. And in those areas, you could have no more than, I'm going to say this backwards. I always have a hard time saying this, that the vacation rentals can't be a number higher than 10% of the total number of single family homes within a geographic area. So each of the X zones has a specific set of boundaries. We count the number of homes in there, and then vacation rentals can only be 10% of that total, and you go on a waiting list otherwise. We're limiting occupancy to 12 guests with no exceptions. Right now, our ordinance allows 18 people during the day and an unlimited number of people on certain holidays, and you can also get a use permit for more guests. And we've found that those are the homes that are creating most of the problems, the ones that are permitted for high capacity. So it's a hard cap at 12, and our standard for reaching that is going to be a bit higher, because we now will take a hard look in the new ordinance at off-street parking, that the off-street parking has to meet the current county standard for a parking space. So you can't just say, I got space in my front yard, you can pull your car in there. It has to meet the geometric standard. If you're parking on street, you only get one on-street parking space. If you have no off-street parking, you can only have 4 guests, and you can't get a permit at all if the street is too narrow to allow parking at least 6 feet from the road center line. And once again, we discovered that's an old county ordinance. It was adopted in 1977, but is rarely enforced. And it seems like especially in some of the areas up in the hills, it's a big public safety issue. So if you can't demonstrate that you have parking, you don't get a permit. Also in the rural residential areas, you have to demonstrate that your septic system has capacity. You only get as many rooms as the septic system is permitted for. It isn't the current system is you get X number of bedrooms plus other what were called sleeping areas or bonus areas. But now it's, if you got a 3-bedroom septic, that's all you get. If you have a septic that was installed before we required permits, you get 4 guests unless you hire a consultant and do a septic findings report and get a formal determination of what the system is. And I think that's kind of the list of what we're planning on doing. The coastal zone, I know that the coast is fairly far from Sonoma Valley, but I just wanted to add that we're not going to require zoning permits in the coast, and that's because the Coastal Act sees that as limiting coastal access, but we are going to require licenses. So the folks out there will just have to get a license and register for transient occupancy tax. So that's what I've got. And if you've got questions, I'm here to answer them.
This group is gonna have lots of questions.
Good.
Ram, Hannah.
Great. Thanks for being here, Gary. Always a pleasure to see you. You have such a great voice. You should be on radio. That's your next career.
No, my next career is retirement.
Oh, good for you. I'm sort of on the other side. I'm in that real estate field and we're always battling you. But this act is got so many things to it. It'll discourage a lot of people from vacation rentals. Actually, I have some very serious questions. One, what happens to existing permits?
This is not being applied retroactively, just as when the X zone was imposed, anybody who had a valid permit can operate until they sell the property. And it'd be the same thing. Once you sell the property, the entitlement goes away.
Got it. In terms of cost, I know I pay a mitigation fee of, I don't know, $200 and some odd a year or whatever it is. For a business license, is it based on amount of revenue or receipts, or how is it going to be determined in terms of cost for the business license?
Our goal is we're not changing any of the fees, that the mitigation fee would just become the license fee. So there wouldn't be any change in cost for the operators.
The last question, I guess, is how do you see, I know the county receives quite a bit of income from TOT. How do you see that the new rules impacting that? I don't know if you can estimate that, but can you give us any ideas or?
Well, this is always I feel like a bureaucrat when I answer this question, because the tax collector is independent from the Board of Supervisors. And
correct.
We have no control over where the TOT money goes. I think we will see an increase in revenue simply because in the coastal zone, you can operate without registering for TOT. We don't have any way to make you pay your fair share. And that's not fair to operators inland. So by requiring a license, then we've got a way to require you to register for TOT on the coast.
So you will be able to collect TOT on the coast?
We do currently in Bodega Harbor and the Sea Ranch. Those two organizations are really wonderful at monitoring their owners and making sure everyone plays by the rules. So that's not a problem, but everything in between there is kind of like the Wild West.
Got it. Okay, well, thanks so much.
Thank you, Avram. Hannah and then Iris.
Hi, I just want to make sure that I understand what you're describing. So currently vacation rentals are allowed via zoning, and now it's going to be both zoning and a business license. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing that we've talked about, or you said something about in the exclusion zone, the vacation rentals can't be a number higher than 10% of the total number of single family homes in the exclusion zone. Is that accurate? Is that what that's what would apply?
That's not accurate.
Oh, okay.
So by the way, and also follow up on your first question is most of the cities have that too, where there's a zoning permit that establishes that your property can have a vacation rental, and that's a one-time fee. And then the business license lets you operate it. Same as, getting a permit to build a restaurant, and then you need a business license to operate the restaurant. You think of it that way. No, the X zone, the exclusion zone is going to remain the way it is. So the only change in that is we are going to include the Theodore Lane neighborhood in the Sonoma Valley X zone. So it'll be expanded to bring that pocket in there where over half the homes have been converted into vacation rentals. It's a pretty bad situation. The cap is going to apply to first of all, the areas in the Russian River that already are operating under a temporary cap. We're going to make that, and this is at the request of the community, turn that into a permanent cap. And then we're also proposing as a policy option in the burn zones that those get converted from a prohibition, which is the case now, to a 10% cap in those areas.
Okay. Okay. So I guess what I was trying to get at is the first time you spoke to us, I think people want to know kind of what percentage of our homes are vacation homes. People are always curious. And I don't know if you have any information about that tonight, but I would love to know what area of the Springs, however you want to define that, is a legal vacation home. Because sometimes people say, oh, if only we didn't have vacation homes, the housing crisis would be over. And I'm not quite sure if that's true, but until we have numbers.
That's actually another thing that I didn't mention is the board did direct us to hire Bob Eiler from Sonoma State to do an I cannot never say this word correctly. I won't use the correct word, economic study of the impacts of vacation rentals on housing price and availability in Sonoma County. And he determined, it's a good study and it's going to be part of the packet. It's a public document. We're going to be releasing it really soon. It determined at the county level, there isn't any real measurable impact from vacation rentals simply because other things that drive housing prices have such a huge influence that vacation rentals are kind of like a rounding error. But he also cautioned that it could be possible because if the net effect is zero, there could be areas where it's having a huge effect. And there also could be areas where it's lowering housing prices as well. Interestingly, he did come up with a few studies where vacation rentals were kind of like, having drug dealing in the neighborhood. It changed the perception of the neighborhood. So it lowered the housing prices, but you don't really want to use that as a mechanism to create affordable housing, is to make a neighborhood undesirable. But we didn't have any evidence that's going on in this county, but want to be really clear. And he's clear in his report, it shouldn't be taken to mean that in a certain area, in a certain demographic, in a certain housing market, that it may have a positive or negative effect. It's just overall, it has no measurable effect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Iris?
I'm the grumpy person who's going to say, I think 10% is too high for neighborhoods, especially small, tight neighborhoods. What I see happening is that it basically is excluding the families that the young families that used to live in the neighborhood, which is sad. I mean, I miss that. Yeah, it
Iris,
has changed
yeah.
our neighborhood.
I think it's burn areas. This is burn areas. Isn't that correct, Gary?
It's in the burn areas, and it is in the lower Russian River, and all those neighborhoods are already past 10%. So the idea is to bring those back down to 10%.
Okay. Yeah, 10% still seems like a lot
Well,
to
and-
take out of your housing market. I know
and
Avram
that-
will, I can hear Avram going, "Rah."
Oh, no.
Well, no,
that
that will be, that'll be a recommendation that we're making. It'll be a policy call for the planning commission. I mean, our 10% was the direction that we received from the board when we did the urgency ordinance. They felt at the time, because their study, by the way, was only looking at the lower Russian River, that when we mapped out those neighborhoods and looked at the effect that 5%, 8%, 15% would have, the number that seemed to kind of balance people's ability to use their homes as vacation rentals and preserving community character in that part of the county was coming out to around 10%. But that was a policy call by the board, and that's the direction we have. So we're going to bring that forward. But, you know, this is a legislative process that the Planning Commission can amend, and that's why I'm encouraging people to participate in this hearing. But obviously, you know, as staff, we're going to bring forward recommendations that the board directed us to bring forward. We're just doing the research and the analysis.
Yeah, I guess
Iris,
when you,
I just-
hang on, when you talk
Okay.
about it, you're saying what you said was, allowing people to use their home as a vacation rental. That it's not allowing a person to use their home, because the people who have vacation rentals that are actually vacation rentals around here don't live in them. And from what I've seen, they actually wouldn't want to. I live in Boise Springs, you know, we have small houses. The people who have vacation rentals live, the guy across the street from us lives down in Creekside. He wouldn't want to live here. It's too small. So it's not their homes actually, that they're renting out. They've got a business going on, and I am very happy to see the business license being required. I think that's a great step. And actually the things you've talked about in terms of parking and reducing the number of people in the house, which is not a problem in our neighborhood, but I know it's been a big problem in other neighborhoods. Those seem all like really good measures. So in that sense, I'm happy with what you're saying. I just think that 10% is actually, that's a lot. So.
Can I say something?
Avram.
I just think people aren't clear about that most of our community is in the exclusion zone. That means nobody can get a permit, Iris, nobody anymore. And when those owners leave, in other words, or sell their house, that house can't be a vacation rental. So in our community, what will happen is there'll be fewer vacation rentals over time. So a lot of people just don't understand. They think that people can still get vacation rental permits in the springs. They can't. Almost all of the springs that I know of, except if you're way in the hills or like me, I'm rural residential, and there are very few places like that. So rest assured, you're not going to have to worry about the 10% rule here. It's just all excluded. Most of that 10% is going to be in the burn area. And a lot of those burn areas are north of here. They're on very, very large parcels. And that's not going to affect you. As a matter of fact, it's going to affect all those people there. I think 10% is probably lower than it should be, but that's what the board recommended. I just wanted to make that clear because there's a lot of false information. People think you can get permits here in the Springs. You can't. it's going down in the other direction. There's another false, what I call red herring, is people say, oh, vacation rentals are impacting affordable rentals in the spring. If those people most of the people that are going to sell their vacation rentals, they're not renting. People aren't coming in and buying investment property here. It's too expensive. They're going to be selling to primary owners. Actually, that's going out of the rental market. So I just like to sort of clarify that, because a lot of people don't understand it and they get all upset because of vacation rentals. It's going in the other direction. Gary, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I do want to say I understand that, but I also want to say I haven't seen anyone selling their vacation rental in my neighborhood.
Well,
I wish.
Okay, so I'm going to call timeout because
okay, well, good.
Yeah, and just I'll add one kind of closing thing there is, it's always been the policy of the county to not retroactively take entitlements away. There's actually some fundamental legal issues around that. So if you got an entitlement, you've got your entitlement. It doesn't mean it's going to survive to the next owner, but you get to enjoy that entitlement as long as you live there. So that's the way. And it is true that through attrition, the number of rentals will go to zero, because eventually everyone is going to sell their property sooner or later.
Ray, did you have a comment?
I was just curious about Gary, about the one area that we don't have that's there was the Theodore Lane area. I'm sure you know about that. I think we've talked about it before. There was it's an area off of Agua Caliente.
Oh, we're aware of that. Maybe I wasn't. That's part of this ordinance, is that will get folded into the existing X zone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any public comment?
Any members of the public who wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. Los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano u oprimir *9 en su teléfono. I see one raised hand.
Zaira?
Zaira, give me a second. Go ahead, Zaira.
Hi, good evening. My name is Zaira Bugarin Quiñones, and I just listening to what Gary stated. I see in regards to the rentals, there's a standard one and there's a high occupancy limited. What my question is with that high occupancy, would that license limit the number of events, or would they throughout the year that the rental can be that the owner can rent their house for such events, or is it a standard, unlimited amount of time?
Thank you, Zaida.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing to clarify, and I should have mentioned this, is once you get a zoning permit for a vacation rental, one of the conditions of approval is a prohibition against having events at that home. That's a trade-off that you make, is if you decide you want to do vacation rentals, then you can never have more than 12 guests on the property. And it's your choice when you go to apply. Currently, it only lets you go above that up to 18. It still doesn't allow special events. But it's based on the number of bedrooms, and there are a lot of 6-bedroom. There's actually homes with way more than 6 bedrooms, but our current ordinance limits it to 6 bedrooms, and we felt let's just stick with that to be fair, because that's always been the cutoff, but not allow an exception with a use permit, which in all the years we've had this program, we've only had 3 of those issued, and 2 of those turned out were converted into full bed and breakfasts. It turned out that the owners actually wanted to run a commercial facility, and that's great. If you want to get a permit for a bed and breakfast, that's a whole different type of operation.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I need to interject. Real quick. Juan, our interpreter, we just want to make sure you're still there. I think our Spanish channel can't hear you. Mari, can you hear him? Okay, and we should be mindful of our interpreter, so.
We're getting close to the end. I'm
we're
going to
getting
take
close,
a
Juan.
comment.
Juan,
Yeah.
do you need a break, or we're getting close and then we have a couple, you're good. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Avram.
Just a clarification, and Gary, it may have skewed over it. Basically, it's 2 people per bedroom, and you have to have the septic in line with that. So in other words, if you have a 3-bedroom septic, you can have 6 people. If you have a 2-bedroom septic, you can have 4 people. If you have a 1-bedroom, etc. So that's how it's determined. It's by the capacity of your septic system and the number of bedrooms that's allowed, and it's 2 per bedroom.
Thank you, Avram. Okay. Gary, thank you for being here. I am sure that we will be seeing more of you because this is a very important topic to this community.
And I encourage participation, really pass the word, because a thing I'd like to emphasize is that the industry has been very effective at having their voice heard, and we want to hear from the community as well. The planning commission is going to make some decisions, based on the input that they receive at these hearings.
Thank you. Okay, friends. Gary, thank you again.
Okay.
Okay. Consideration for future agenda items. We have the spring specific plan. And that's it. SDC's already presented. Hannah?
Oh, I was just thinking, as part of my community outreach ad hoc, if we could have like a community input time. I don't know, something like beyond public comment is what I was thinking. So just if we could agendize something like that.
Like a community voice?
Sure, I don't know what to call it, but I just, sometimes it's, yes, that sounds good. Sure.
Okay, so like a standing item on each agenda.
Yeah, something that we can have that repeats.
Perfect.
Great.
Maybe we'd have a chance for conversation that way with the people that are talking. Would that be so?
I'll have to check with Karina. We'll have to do some research on that, but I think so.
Are you thinking beyond a town hall, something like you can have at your MAC meetings to have community engagement?
Yes, to increase community engagement. Just again, to get people here, to make them feel like their voices are heard when they're here.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Have
think
a
that's
listening session.
Well,
yeah, I haven't gone that far into thinking of it, but I was just thinking, along with community outreach, part of community outreach is having the community heard here. So I'm not sure if listening session or community voice, but something, Gina did say a minute 30 is a little short. So just, something a little bit more back and forth, a little bit more. Yeah.
And I'd like to see it be thank you for bringing that up, Hannah. I'd like to see it be like a reoccurring item.
Exactly. Yep. To get people. Yep.
I have to say that I think that that's one of the big problems we have in getting people to even come on, watch us on Zoom, and in getting more applicants for the positions that are available on the SMAC. There's just not enough excitement about what we do out there. We don't get people wanting to see what we're talking about and what we're doing.
Okay. Jesus?
That's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as part of my ad hoc outreach, I feel that a lot of the things that in MAC go out there and talk to people, and I look forward to do that. I have high hopes that during the farmers market, I will be able to go in person and make connections, and even the flyers have a link for people to apply to get into to become a council member. And I hope I have my high hopes, and I hope that we can do something in the coming months. We just need to go out there, and we'll do it. And another thing that I would like to see, maybe if we can, for future, for the future, to maybe 10,000 degrees can come and talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. To Avram's, he said it early in the agenda about One Sonoma. And I'm wondering, we had the LAFCO guys come, I think it was like right before the pandemic. It was like our last in-person meeting. And I'm wondering where things are with that. I don't know if there's been any more work in that area. And just wondering if there's an update on anything that, if there's conversations happening, what that might look like. Because, Avram kind of made it, it's like, what is our obligation and responsibility to each other?
I can give you an update. I've met with, what's his name that runs LAFCO, and
Mark Graham.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Nothing is going on. I'll just tell you that very clearly. There are a lot of things that have to happen for that to happen. That means, a volunteer organization getting ready to figure out how that can happen again. Excuse me. They tried it before in the 70s. It didn't work. And the reason I say that is we're out here way in the springs, and I still feel like an orphan, so to speak. I know Susan has all the best intentions. She's real busy. She's got a lot of things on her plate. She's on so many committees, etc., bigger committees. If we became a part, if the Springs became a part of the city of Sonoma and we were annexed like Roseland into Santa Rosa, we would have a bigger say in what we do, how we do, etc. Because we would, I know the city of Sonoma is going to probably move to district elections instead of just one and whoever gets the most votes. And if that was the case, we would have someone truly, representing our needs. Not to say that Susan doesn't, but she's got a lot of needs out there. She's got other, a whole nother group of people. So that's why I feel it's important. I don't know if I'll live to see that, but I'll be happy to work with anybody that is interested in pursuing that. It's going to be a monumental task. I don't know if it can happen, but I'm sure would like to see it explored and what that would take. We would need the support of the council people at the city of Sonoma. We'd probably have to lobby them first because they're going to be very important in that decision. Then we'd have to negotiate with the county in terms of how much money. That's exactly what Roseland did. And, but I think it's worthwhile to pursue. And, to what you said, Maite, bring Mark back. I'll be on the other side of this, listening and giving my 2 cents. Mark is very smart about it. He understands it, but it's a big mountain to climb. And I'd like to climb it with others if they're willing. Bring your pitons.
keep bringing it up, and eventually, it's like sidewalks, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be wonderful. There's so many reasons to do it. So many.
All right.
I would like to point out the article that Karina sent around to us. It was very brief. geez, I can't remember the organization, that pointed out that low income areas actually contribute more money to the municipality to which they belong than more expensive areas where their homes are on larger pieces of land. And also that low income areas contribute more than big box stores. And it was surprising to me but wonderful, because it really affirms that we are a valuable community, and also that dollars spent, and well, also, some of the communities that are considered derelict and neglected don't really have the money that should be spent on them, even percentage wise, just the bare minimum. But even if the money is returned to the community in terms of maintenance and hopefully improvements, it still benefits the municipality to which they belong. That was just such an impressive finding.
So what I'm hearing is that on a future agenda item, we would like to hear more about what it means to either be incorporated, annexed, whatever that means. We want an exploration of that. Okay.
I think, Maite, if we invite Mark back, perhaps we should ask this Sonoma City Council. And unfortunately, they meet on the same, they're meeting.
Yeah,
tonight.
Well, okay. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Actually, I'd like Karina to give us a little primer on what she needs from us when we write letters, because there's a whole process that I wasn't aware of, and I know that she's got deadlines she needs to meet so she doesn't have to go crazy. So
okay. All right. So she can talk to us about that next time.
I think that would be an item for a letter writing policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you have any samples of that, maybe, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. Okay. So I just want to say thank you again to Avram and Ray. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with both of you. It really has. You both have taught me so much. So I'm going to miss you both.
Well, I'm going to miss, I know Ray and I will both miss you, but Karina, keep me on the email list. Just send me the other side of it so I can come in, and hopefully we can have an in-person meeting soon. That would be fabulous, and keep up the good work.
Okay, I need a picture.
Hat.
I need a picture of everybody with their hat on. Okay.
Avram, I will transfer you from my Spring SMAC Council member list to my Spring SMAC FYI list.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Give me a big smile with your SMAC hats on. Okay, that's awesome. I'll send it to Karina and she can share it with everybody. All right, I hope to see you guys in person soon too. So we see you in that audience.
We will see you. We'll be around.
Okay, Ray. Bye, Avram.
Thank
We have to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, all in favor.
Aye.
Bye.
See you all soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.